Good evening and welcome to the Late Late Show with me, Irish Tommy. And thankfully, I'm not all on my lonesome this week either. It's my old friend, Nick. How are you, bud?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. I'm all right. I was getting myself all charged up for the show, and then I made the horrible mistake of watching Friday Night Pint, and they've lifted my spirits. It was a really good show, actually. If you haven't seen it, go and give it a watch. It ended really, really well. It was good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I could use a lift, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's been a rough week, mate. It's been a rough few days.
Yep, it has been. It has been.
Yeah. So before we kind of get onto it, I'm just going to do a quick shout out to a few people who've joined us for this evening. Yeah, work away. Ian K, I've been watching other channels. There's some are living in denial. Things are not smooth at the club. However, Moyes wants to spin it. Thanks for your comment, Ian, and welcome. Toger Brendan C, this is always going to happen. The team are not good enough to sit back and absorb pressure. Not having a number 9, 20% possession is not great stat, especially when you're the home team. Cheers for that. John Hicks, Moyes is taking his team down. Time for him to go. Come on, you Irons. Cheers for joining, John. It's got Paul Flower. Moyes has had one bad season. All the seasons he's been at West Ham, and in that season we became champions of Europe. You know what we are. John Hicks again. The players don't want to play for Moyes. They're pissed off. We buy good players to sit on the bench. He plays the has-beens. That's all he knows. And James Lee, welcome. After last night's performance, if Moyes was an American college football coach, he would have been fired on the tarmac and told to find his own flight home. That would have been a bit hard. Sullivan's got form in that way. He didn't want to let Avram Gant back on the team.
Right. That's right, yeah. It rarely ends well.
No. Paul Evans, what was that last night? Clueless manager, time's up. Mikey's hammer. Was time to worry a couple of seasons ago. Some delusional fans were and are still brainwashed by this imbecile manager, managing this team, though, and it's nigh on embarrassing. Time for them to wake the fuck up. Some people never will. No. Some people are Moyes fans more than West Ham fans, I think. Mark Alexander, welcome, mate. How are you? We'll actually get into that in a minute because you've spoken on that, I think, a little bit. That some people sort of seem almost to be so entrenched. This is what happens on Twitter, I think. Is people get so entrenched in defending certain things, it no longer really, for some of them, becomes about what's best for West Ham. It just becomes about being right. And they almost come across in the end, and I think some of them are now, as being Moyes fans rather than West Ham fans. And it seems it isn't so much that they want what's best for West Ham, it's that they just want to be right, that David Moyes is the right man for the job.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can to a degree I can understand it because it's quite hostile, especially in social media. So, sort of being sort of fair to everyone. I think if you're Moyes in, I think there's, especially if you're on social media, then there's a Moyes out crowd that when things go wrong, we score points against each other. But the thing is with me, I've never been like that. So. For instance, there's been good times and bad. I've probably been Moyes out now consistently for about 18 months, and there's good times and bad times because it's like I stuck with it throughout the start of this season when everyone else was saying it was looking up. We was in the top 4, we'd beat Chelsea, we'd beat Brighton, but I could still see the cracks. I could still see that we was kind of inviting on too much pressure. That the fact that Areola got man of the match in both of those games against Chelsea and Brighton, and. So I've sort of maintained it and I've stuck with it, and I'm not keen to. It's not about being proven right. All I want is for David Moyes to go because I fucking believe that it's the right thing for the club. He's divisive. You've only got to look on social media for the way they're all at each other's throats. And do you know what? When you look at Villa with Emery, and you look at the fans in that stadium and that fan base, just go on a few of their fan channels. Everyone's fucking happy. You look at. I hate to say it, Tottenham at the moment as well. Their stadium, it was dead under Conte and Mourinho. Now it's fucking buzzing because just because they're enjoying the football, and that is what will galvanise West Ham. Is when eventually, because look, you will always get a lot of fans that are kind of centrists that don't really care. I think you've got extreme in each direction, but most people I think sit in the centre, right? But I think so, and they're the ones that a lot of people call flip flops, and it's not because they're flip flops. It's just because. They don't really care either way, and they just want West Ham to do well. If Moyes ain't doing well, they'll go, Moyes out, change the manager. Likewise, if we're doing well, they'll be like, well, why change it? But the thing is, managers like this, it's been proven through history. You look at Sam Allardyce, mate. They're divisive. They are divisive. We're always going to have fans that kind of like the safety blanket because the manager saved us, and because maybe some of that stems from the fact that Sullivan and some of the fuck-ups we've made with management before, and they do believe the grass isn't always greener based on West Ham's history as opposed to other managers that are available. But just look at this now. This is a different team. We've spent 500 million in 3.5 years. They mean business now. We've gone out. We've got Tim Stein in, who's a guy who's, Sullivan turned down Emery, and he literally turned him down, and he recruited Pellegrini instead. So you'd like to think that Sullivan has identified that he knows a square root of fuck all about football in terms of recruiting managers, and that's why we've gone and got this guy in. He's delegating that to Tim. That's all but been confirmed that the next manager choice will be Tim Stein. And mate, can you imagine? Just think forward to next season, if we do manage to get an Emery type character who changes the way that we play, a new philosophy, it'll be fucking bouncing in that place, and everyone will be happy. They will be. They will be. This is like being stuck in purgatory. Tommy, I went through my videos earlier on, and I literally did. It was quite funny. I did an Everton. It's titled on. It's a year ago, but it's been a bit about 14 months ago. But I did a Moyes out video, and it was against Everton a year ago. And I'm pretty sure that if we was to lose the game tomorrow, I could just cut and paste everything I said in that video, because it's all the same. The style of football, the gutless way that we approach games. It's for fans that like that want entertainment. We've got a trophy out of this, but do you know what? It makes you sound entitled because we've won a trophy out of it. But I enjoy watching football, and I don't enjoy watching this at the moment. I don't, and I haven't done for some time. I haven't, and whether that makes me wrong, I don't know. But I can't. It's how I feel. I think every West Ham fan will be. I think we will be more galvanised. We'll be happier as a fan base when that bloke's fucking gone, and I mean that as well.
Yeah, it's been this way for a long time now, and I think probably 90+% of fans gonna. At one point last season, for some time, I think last season, wanted him sacked because things were absolutely dire. I mean, at one point, I think we were 19th, which was our lowest point of the season, and we were banging trouble at one point. I mean, we looked helpless, and it looked like a hopeless cause. And I think it was a big risk to keep him on. We'll never really know. I'll certainly never really know, I don't think, why Sullivan didn't pull the trigger. I mean, it would have been the easiest thing in the world to do. There would have been no problem with the fan base. The fan base would have been happy that we're going in a different direction. Why he didn't, I'll never know. But he got away with it, and he'll feel he was vindicated.
Do you think there was anything in the fact that we knew that, because the Tim Stein thing didn't happen overnight? That was kind of 3 months to 6 months in the making. Do you think he was hesitant to make any changes before we brought Tim in?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's possible, but I think given the circumstances, even a caretaker manager would have been a better option. Yeah. Someone who just would have taken over the reins until the end of the season. I mean, it couldn't have done any worse. I mean, it was. I mean, it was last season was just horrendous, and people forget that. It's almost like people don't remember how bad it was. And I think winning the Conference League, going on that run in Europe. It was kind of like a little bit of a sticky plaster on a broken leg, and
that was.
People, I think, read too much into it, and because I think the Conference League, to be fair, and I'll never change my mind on this, that was a competition we absolutely should be winning. It's a competition this season that Villa absolutely should be winning. So I think some people get a bit carried away with the conference. As much as I loved it, I mean, it was amazing to win a cup. Absolutely amazing.
It was brilliant for us. I think you said it on the last one, when you're starved, anything tastes nice. I think you said a cracker tastes nice, didn't you?
Yeah, I think if you're starving, a cracker tastes amazing.
Yeah, that's it. And look, it will always be a great memory, and I am grateful for it. I am, but as you say, I'm not being funny. We didn't have much else to play for at that point. We just had that competition. That was it. And I'm pretty certain if we had have made a change, I think anyone would have been expected to win that competition. Fair enough, the final was against a good team. You had to win that. The Fiorentina, that was a proper final. It was, but the lead up to we had a free hit, really, didn't we? The whole way through the competition. So the journey to that final wasn't, and that's why I was so happy that we did get a good team in the final, because I think it gave it a little bit more meaning as well to beat Fiorentina.
Yeah, I think that was maybe like the one kind of saving grace, is that we at least played an established name,
Exactly, yeah.
from one of the 5 major European
Yeah.
leagues in the final, albeit we didn't play very well.
No. We was terrible in that game. We were.
Yeah,
I think.
we got obviously we got the penalty, that
Yeah.
Benny stuck away for the handball, which was a great help. It's always when the opponents help you out a little bit, it's always great. But and then obviously just one moment of magic, from Paqueta, and a brilliant run from Bowen, and all of a sudden, you're winning the game. And
It does get exhausting, right? Because the thing is, you don't want to play it down as a West Ham fan, because I don't want to play it down. It was a great moment, but what makes you sort of forces you to play it down is when you do get. Sometimes you get fans that go a little bit too overboard with it, and it almost feels a little bit cringy with how they're talking.
Yeah,
because it isn't the fucking Champions League. Do you know what I mean? It's not. It's a great thing for us, but I just think that sometimes fans do go way overboard with it, and that isn't just because Moyes was a manager there. It would be the same whoever it was. Don't forget, we was taking the piss out of Spurs for being in that competition the year before when they bailed out of it. We was all mocking them, So. It was very important. It was great, but I think you got to kind of you've got to call it as it was. We were the favourites in that competition, or the joint favourites. We got the job done, but it ain't like we won an FA Cup where we're going to beat a load of fucking Premier League opposition on the way to the final and stuff like that. It wasn't like it was the most competitive.
Yeah, and the thing for me is, like you say, I think there's too many fans that are using that as the reason why Moyes should be given a lot more time.
This is what I'm saying.
Potentially even a new contract. He won us a cup, for fuck's sake, and it's like, come on, that's too narrow-minded a view, in my opinion. I think you need to look at the wider picture. I mean, for 18 months before the beginning of this season in the league, I mean, we were absolutely dog shit.
Yeah,
absolutely dog shit. We had a promising start to this season,
and it was 18 months as well.
Yeah, it was 18 months.
Yeah.
The second half of this previous season, the season we got to the semi-final Europa League, I mean, in the league, we were absolutely horrible. It was the first half of that season that kind of saved us. But and this season, look, obviously, we had a more promising start. A couple of really good results, notably, I suppose, against Chelsea, albeit Chelsea looked all at sea when we played them.
Well, I think they played us off the park in the first half, and we was lucky not to go in a couple of goals down. They just couldn't finish, I do think I had a look at this earlier on. I've been back on Twitter again, and so I had a bit of a back and forth on Twitter, and I said, Bournemouth, we went 1-0 up, and then we tried to defend the lead for 55 minutes, and we in the end we was lucky to kind of really get anything out of that, because they were the ones that was in the ascendancy for the whole of that second half. It weren't.
I think Areola was man of the match in that game.
Yeah, and then Chelsea, like I said, they score that penalty. They put away any of the abundance of chances that they had that they kept missing away. We go in a couple of goals down. That game's gone. But look, we got the job done. Areola got man of the match in that one as well. And then we play City, who, if they'd have won 8-1, Haaland missed a hat-trick of chances. Sorry, no, we didn't. We played Brighton. That was a good game. But that was the other one where, look, it was good to put that to bed. But let's have it straight. Areola won us that game as well as the goal scorers.
Areola,
he got man of the match again.
That Brighton game down at the Amex. I mean, Areola made a string.
It was unbelievable. So, and that's the thing. So none of these results that we got there, and they were the standout results, Chelsea and the Brighton one. It weren't cut and dried, and that was a point where everyone flipped and everyone in the fan base went fucking mad. Oh, that's it. We've all changed. And I'm sitting there looking at it thinking, but all right, I get it. We've won, but the fucking goalkeeper's got man of the match in them 2 games. We're not defending very well. We're conceding loads of chances. The other team haven't got their shooting boots on. Then we go to Luton. Luton, we just scraped past in the end. It was a shit game. I was there. James Ward-Prowse almost gave a penalty away in a sort of dying minutes or whatever it was.
Injury time.
In injury time, yeah. And then who came after that? You had then you had City. Then you had Liverpool. They were the 2 games where, look, I think Liverpool was the one that confused me. Man City wiped the floor with us. We had a few chances, but they should have scored they should have been in double figures. They had about 25 shots on goal. Liverpool, in the first half, it's like Moyes stumbled on a formula. We matched them in the first half. But then the second half he came out, completely changed. We regressed. And we just allowed Liverpool to just do what Liverpool do, which is absolutely fucking mind-boggling.
Well, that's a theme with us, isn't it? At the moment,
Yeah.
we come out second half just completely lethargic,
Yeah.
like the players have taken a nap.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. And then obviously you had the Newcastle game. You had Sheffield United, which we won 2-0, but the worst second half of football you'll ever see. It was awful. Newcastle, we played against an injury-ravaged Newcastle team that had just had the game of their lives against PSG. I know we played in Europe, but they played fucking PSG and literally put everything on the line. They was flat in the first half. We should really have put them to bed. We won a goal up. And then we done the same thing again, Tommy. We came out in the second half sleepwalking, and we allowed them to sort of get back into it. They took the second half completely, and we got a point in the end through virtue of the guy that he doesn't want to start in the Premier League, Kudus, coming on and scoring a worldie, and then we go and get battered by Aston Villa. So it's been a very average start to this season. It has. We've got a couple of results that we didn't expect, but as far as I'm concerned, it hasn't been an amazing start to the season. Now it's very fucking average.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, like I kind of saw this coming.
So did I.
Because no, I didn't really say anything on Twitter about it because you're just going to get absolutely hammered. Because there's a lot of people that just see the result and the 3 points, and they don't really look into it any more deeply than that. Whereas, I'm watching the games and I'm seeing the flaws, and I'm seeing that we're not going to keep getting away with this. Like we're going to come up against teams who can finish, and then we're going to be banging trouble, and that's what's been happening. I mean, that's why Villa put 4 past us, because Villa have proven this season that they are very good in the final third, particularly with Ollie Watkins, who's a tremendous striker. And I was really worried about that game. I was hoping, because of our good record up there, that would continue. So I felt like maybe we could get a point up there, but watching that game, I mean, especially when you consider since Moyes took charge at West Ham, we've spent more money than Villa, and our manager is much more settled than Aston Villa's manager. Moyes has been here 4.5 years, but what Emery has done in
a year.
Yeah, in a year is astonishing. I mean, Villa look absolutely fantastic. Now, look, Villa, I'm sure at some point in the season they'll have their wobble in the league.
They'll get an injury to a key player, which will probably impact them, because I don't think they've got the deepest squad. I think if Watkins got an injury or something like that, they'd suffer.
Yeah. So Villa probably won't be able to do this for 38 games, but they'll do it for enough games that I think that it's possible that they'll threaten to nick a Champions League spot. I think Emery's that good a manager.
I think so. But do you know what I love about him? Sorry, Tommy. What I loved about listening to Emery was in his press conference it's before the game. You got David Moyes, typically the guy, because I think like I said it last week, he's sailing too quick. He's up, down, up, down. He'll never crack into that top 6. Even if you gave him £1 billion, he wouldn't, because of the way that he sets up. But he plays it down all the time, plays it down. Emery's sitting there in his first season saying, I want Champions League football. He's getting the expectations of the fans up. He wants them to be excited. The other guy, someone's going to take a piss at me in the chat, Ange Postecoglou does the same thing. It's like, I want the fans to dream. I want them to be excited. I don't, why not be delusional? Why not want the fans to fucking, to feel like that? But Moyes, it's the other way. He tries to bring it down all the time. And what you were saying earlier on, like Hammers Mikey in the chat, quite a few of them as well that I can see there, they've all said the same thing. They've been calling it like we have from the start, around about the Chelsea-Brighton game. They've been saying this ain't going to last. Because when you watch the way that we've set up and the way that we've been playing, it ain't going to last. And I think the telling thing for me, Damien said the same thing as well. Damien D'Amico, he said the same thing. But the telling thing for me was when it was a relief when we lost Declan Rice and we got the players in that we did. We thought, oh, look, we look more balanced now. It looks great. We look better all around than what we did when we had Rice. But the last few games, it looks like the fucking Premier League and the opposition have had a look at a few videos, Tommy, and we're just being pulled apart. I mean, that 3 in the middle of Souček, James Ward-Prowse and Alvarez, I'm sorry, no. That is no fucking good. That is no good at all. James Ward-Prowse as well, being played as a CDM. He's not a CDM. That's almost like when he had Flynn Downs and he played Flynn Downs as a fucking 10. I mean, I don't know why he does it, but he's playing him deep and he's playing a guy, Souček, as a box crasher in the 10. But it was like the parting of the Red Sea. I mean, their first goal was pathetic, wasn't it? Olympiacos.
That was
It was
terrible.
an absolute fucking joke.
Yeah,
It really was.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing we're going to come to next is this Olympiacos game.
Yeah.
I think the writing was on the wall as soon as I saw the first 11. I remember seeing it and thinking, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah. I
remember thinking we're going to get beat. We're going to get that 11 is going to get beat in all likelihood because you're away in Athens, really partisan crowd. They're desperate for a win. They need a lifeline in this group. They know that a point even is not going to be good enough for them. They know this is a must-win game for them. They're going to be highly motivated.
Yeah.
And this is the Europa League. This is not the Conference League anymore, right? We can't get away with that kind of thing. And it's astonishing to me, given that had we won in Athens on Thursday
it'd have been done. It would have been
we'd
done.
have been complete control in that group.
Yeah.
Complete control, given that we still have to play the Serbian crowd, to Ploka, whatever you call it. I can't remember how to pronounce it. But
TSC, just call them TSC.
Yeah, TSC. We still have to play them. And
Yeah.
we've got home games against Freiburg and Olympiacos. We'd have been home and hosed on 9 points after 3 games if Moyes had taken that game seriously. So I don't know why he took such a gamble in such a vital game in the group. This puts us now back under pressure in the group. I know we're still top, but now we're not far ahead of Olympiacos now, and we're level on points with Freiburg.
But making that many changes, now we all know that the David Moyes system only really functions when you've got a strong focal point up front. So with Antonio, so to make all of those changes and then put Danny Ings down the middle up front as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how many times has he got to see Danny Ings fail in that position before he accepts that he can't fucking do it? I think Gio said on the Hammers chat, it's 20 appearances Danny Ings has had. The last 19 or 20 appearances with no goals.
Yeah.
With no goals, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think there's an element here where he kind of has to justify Danny Ings getting some minutes because this is someone who's on 125k a week. I mean, if he relegates Ings to third choice striker, let's say behind Mubama,
Yeah.
I mean, he could have done other things. I mean, he could have, for example, played Cornet up top. He's played up front before. Could have put Benny on the left. Could have started Mubama and said, "There you go, son. Look, here's your chance. Go out and impress." I mean, he couldn't have done worse than Ings. Let's be honest.
What were the changes that he made yesterday? You know, the 6 subs. He brought on Antonio, Bowen, Souček, Paqueta, Alvarez. Who else? There was 6 he made, didn't he? Did he make 6 subs, or was it just 5?
It's 5, I think. You're not
Just
allowed
5.
6. You're allowed 6?
I think in Europe you are. I don't know. Because what I was going to suggest, Tommy, if you don't mind, I'm just getting it set up. I haven't done the player ratings on Claret and Booze yet. Do you want to run through them in a little bit? If we run,
Let's do it.
Run through them. I'm just going to get the screen set up first, and then we'll run through them.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, no problem. But I was just astonished at his thinking. I mean, I can't believe he thought he could get away with that team.
No.
Like, I understand mixing it up a little bit. You could rest some players, but I mean, he should have gone really strong in that game and just gone for the win and get the 3 points.
100%.
Yeah, and just put that group is pretty much done then. He can't rest players anymore.
No.
Like, if he'd have just gone strong and got 9 points on the board and won out there, because they didn't look that great, Olympiacos. I think our first 11 would have beat them.
Yeah.
And then he would have maybe put himself in a position where he could rest some players in the home tie against Olympiacos and maybe get away with that, given that we've already got 9 points on the board. But the problem he has now is we've got 3 games left. We've got Olympiacos home and Freiburg at home, and he's going to have to win those.
Of course he is.
He's going to have to put full strength teams out for both of those games now, whereas he wouldn't necessarily have had to.
No, I think he's put himself under undue pressure. And look, don't get me wrong. A lot of people are sort of saying, "Oh, Moyes didn't really care about that result." He did fucking care. He did care about it. That's why he panicked and made so many changes the way that he did. I think he just completely and utterly he underestimated the opposition. And did you see the stats, Tommy? In the last 12 games, Olympiacos have lost something like 10 of their last 12. They've drawn a couple. They've only won one. That's against us. And the last time they beat an English team was 10 years ago. That was Man United. And guess who was manager?
David Moyes.
It was David Moyes.
Yeah.
That's an interesting stat, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's just no defence for that team you put out. And people talk about, players didn't do well enough either. That's true. I mean, there were too many players that didn't play well. But it's difficult because as a fringe player who doesn't really get any minutes, you can come into a strong side where there's only, maybe 3 changes or 4 changes.
Yeah.
And you can slot in. And you'll be all right because the other players around you are at it, and then they're match fit and match sharp and they're used to playing together and you can slot in. But you can't change a whole team and expect them to look like they play together every week.
You can't do that. And also, Tommy, it's the building up to the fucking game as well, where he's being asked about Cresswell and Johnson. Will they be available? Yeah, well, they'll be available if we need them. And then he came out and he said, he basically said, no, I'm just resting players. He didn't say I'm rotating players, giving players a chance to sort of fight for their place. He just went, no, I'm resting players. So these players that are coming in know full well that they could have the game of their lives against Olympiacos. It ain't going to make no fucking difference. They ain't getting into that first team. Flynn Downs proved that last year. He got 2 consecutive man of the match performances. Didn't translate to the Premier League at all. So they know that. These players know they are the backup players. They do. The ones that are not in the first team. And when you create that kind of impenetrable first team environment that David Moyes has got, you can't expect these players to be hungry. You want to create a competitive environment. That's the only way you can do it. Competitive. You want the players that come in and get their chance in Europe to think and believe that when they play well, when they put a performance in, they'll be considered for the game at the weekend.
Yeah.
I
mean, for example, what he could have done as well, because I know Kudus has played up top. Like I said, Corney, whoever he decided to go with up top. Let's say he decided to give Mubama his chance because he's the most Antonio-like player we have.
Yeah.
To replace Antonio. He could have put Mubama, for example, in there and said, listen, Antonio's not been great the last couple of games. There's a chance here for you if you go and impress. I'm going to have to, make me really think about who starts up front against Everton on Sunday. Give him the motivation to think, I could play myself into the team here.
Yeah,
if I really perform.
But
that never happens. Like you said, the players know no matter what they do, how well they perform. I mean, how would you expect Fornals, for example, to be motivated to go and put in a barnstorming performance against Olympiacos away? He knows it doesn't matter. He knows he's not going to see any game time again until possibly the next Europa League game.
Especially Fornals, right? And he's a guy that I think he's got the best fucking attitude of anyone that you could hope for. Since Moyes has come in, he's bent over backwards to accommodate Moyes. He's literally been one of those guys that will do whatever he's asked. He's been playing him out of position. He always gives 100%, that guy. Always. And do you know what? He's been fucking used. He's had his game changed. He's had to lose a lot of his attacking impetus. He's been turned into like a fucking holding midfielder out on the left to cover for the fullback. And there's no thanks for it. He's just been dumped now. And I think his mind's made up. I think he's seen enough and he wants to go. And I think he deserves his move. He deserves it.
I think he does because he's actually a very good player, Fornals. And I think, with the right manager and playing week in, week out, he can be a real asset to a team. And I feel bad for him as well because if you remember last season, he scored. I can't remember what game it was. He scored and the fucking guy was in tears.
Yeah, that was against was it Bournemouth? Was it the Bournemouth game? I can't.
Might have been the Bournemouth game.
It was a Bournemouth game. Yeah, the guy's super emotional and he does love the club. He does love the club. I mean, when he was kind of in his pomp and it was all going well for him, he said he wanted to retire at West Ham. But you can't and this is what I think's happened. I think David Moyes, with someone like Fornals who is so kind of loyal and hardworking, with David Moyes in his sort of setup, I don't think it's almost like he who shouts loudest. And that's why when you get the likes of fucking Vladimir Sufal, who got dropped for a few games, didn't get back in the team, he goes goes in the press and starts complaining. He's straight back in the team again, straight back in the team. The only one he didn't do that with was Fabianski, because Fabianski kicked off, and he stuck with Areola. But I think he's very stern, but in some aspects, I think he's quite weak, Moyes. With the way that he manages his players, it's like I don't know. I mean, you certainly can't do what we're doing now. I mean, coming into this part of the season, bearing in mind, we've been fuck lucky with no injuries. We've had no injuries at all, have we? And the fixtures are going to be coming thick and fast. And now, because we lost that game, we can't really rest any players now. We've got to go full strength in all of the games now if we want to progress. Because it's wide open, that group now. So there's going to be just 2 games a week now.
I mean, if we have injuries and suspensions,
you got an awful signal, Tommy. It's either you or me. Let me check. Hang on.
Could be me.
Let me have a look. I think it might be you. Hang on. Yeah, no, it's not me. You still there? Hello, Tommy? Tommy! He's got that dial-up broadband, hasn't he? What's this? Sound's gone on Tommy. Yours is good, Nick. Come on, Tommy, I'm the guest on here. All right, okay.
Right there. Can you see me?
That's better. I can see you now.
Yeah, I think it might have just been an interruption in the broadband there for a second or something, but Sinead's going to go through the LAN here, and she's going to
plug you in.
She's going to plug me in, so we can hopefully put an end to all that. But yeah, I don't even know where it was. Yeah, I think what I'm saying is that the problem we have if we start getting some injuries and suspensions is that the players that are on the bench who'll be asked to come in and fill in those positions will be completely demotivated.
Yeah, they will. They will. It's fucking. And what gets me, right, and I do get it, like you said earlier on, the players have got to take some responsibility for that performance as well. But it's when you kind of get some fans, and it's like they don't even mention Moyes in all of this. They don't. Yeah. It's like it's all the fans. They came out and they went, "This is why David Moyes has only got 11 players, because all the backup players are no fucking good." They don't put any thought into the fact that, well, hang on a minute. These players don't play with each other. They're not motivated. They can't be match sharp, Tommy, because they never really fucking play. So they can't be match sharp either. You know that it's like it's. I get. Whereas people say to me, "Oh, will you blame Moyes?" But you can't with something like that. You can't blame all of those players. That is 100% on Moyes. That was. You can't even contest it. It was bang on. That was he fucked up big time.
Yeah, I mean. To be fair, I mean, like you say, those players that come in, they know they're not playing for the shirt.
No.
They know as soon as whatever player it is comes back, they're straight back in.
Yeah. No, I know.
No matter how well they play, they just go straight back in the fucking team. Because, Moyes has his kind of this one vision of who plays and where they play, and that's kind of it, really. It takes a hell of a lot for him to shift his opinion.
Yeah, it does. Right, should we go through the player ratings, Tom?
Yeah, go on and let's do it.
Get these done. Go on, Areola, you go first. Go on.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I don't think there was an awful lot he could have done for their goal. I mean, it was very well struck. It was right inside the post. I think he was a little unsighted as well.
Yeah.
I don't think he saw it until it got past the defender, the shot. So, but other than that, he didn't have a huge amount to do. So I'd say he had an okay game.
He didn't really do anything wrong, I don't think.
No, I didn't do anything wrong, and wasn't called into action too many times. So probably just a 6, I think.
Average performance.
Yeah.
I'll take Emerson. I think Emerson was probably one of the players on the pitch that thought he was okay. I thought he was all right. He's kind of becoming one of our most consistent players, isn't he, Emerson?
Yeah, I've been so impressed with Emerson since he came in. I mean, I thought it was an okay signing when we got him from Chelsea.
I didn't.
Because I hadn't seen much of him. He was frozen out at Chelsea, and I hadn't seen a whole lot of him. But I think since he came to the club and since he nailed down that position, I think initially he actually was playing as kind of a wing back when he was getting his chance, and Cresswell was still preferred as an orthodox left back.
Do you know what, Tommy? Watching Emerson now, you're thinking, "Fuck me! How did it take Emerson so long to break in?"
I know, yeah. I mean, he must have been good.
How did it take him so long? Do you know what I mean? He's a way better player.
I can answer that for you.
Go on.
Because Cresswell's so good in set pieces.
Oh, there you go.
And we were scoring lots of set piece goals, and he just wanted him on free kicks and corners.
Yeah, I know. Right, well, giving him a 6. Go on, Tilo Kehrer.
Tilo wasn't great. Tilo, again, another player I think is demotivated. I think Kehrer has a lot more about him than we saw.
He's a good player, Tommy. I don't care what anyone says.
I like Kehrer. I do think he's a good player.
Yeah.
I think he's probably better as a centre back than a right back.
Yeah. But if you're going to play him as a right back, I think you've got to play him there and play him. Yeah. You've got to let him get used to that fucking position. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think just chucking him in there once in a blue moon to cover for Sofal, I think you're kind of asking for trouble.
You are. And the other thing as well, sorry, but the other thing as well, it's all about relationships on that side. Now, when you play Emerson, Emerson and Paqueta, they've got a relationship. Emerson's been playing there for a while now, so 4 now as he used to, Benrahma. But Kehrer and Kudus, 2 new players on that right-hand side. They haven't got any fucking chemistry together, have they?
No, none whatsoever. So, yeah, I feel a little bit bad for him, to be honest. I thought he had a fairly poor game. But I don't want to give him a really stinker of a score because I do feel for him a little bit. He was, chucked in there at right back. It's not really his position. Hasn't played for some time. So I think a 5, to be fair to him. I'll give him a 5.
Yeah, I'll give him a 5. That's fine. Mavropanos. He weren't great. I've got to be honest. He wasn't great. He weren't dreadful. The attempted block for the shot made me cringe. He made himself smaller. I've never seen that happen before. When he sort of went to, he didn't go to the guy to close the space down. The one who scored the first goal, he just kind of stood there. Yeah, I probably am going to have to give him a 4 if I'm sticking with the theme of last week. You've got to be equally brutal. Like I say, this has been affected by Moyes. It isn't a reflection of the player. I don't think he's shit. I think he's a very good player. But it was a poor performance, and that for the first goal was bad in my opinion. It's bad from Ward-Prowse as well, but that was no good. So first donkey of the evening goes to Mavropanos. Sorry, mate, not great for your first game. And now, poor old Oggy. I love Oggy.
I love Oggy as well. So this pains me. And I want to say, look, Oggy's been an unbelievable player for us. And when he was in his pomp, he was a wonderful centre-back for us. Been an incredible servant, absolutely adores West Ham. Yeah. And I think it's fantastic that he's going to retire a hammer at the end of the season. He deserves that.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge admirer and fan of Oggy. What a player he's been. And I'm gutted for him that he had such a bad game.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
It was really, really bad.
Yeah.
And of course, the own goal doesn't help. I don't think he helped Mavropanos. I've got to be honest, and I don't want to put all this on. It's not Oggy's fault, And that's the thing. If you're going to put a new centre back in, then it probably should have been with either Aguero or Zuma, with another established player who's been playing a little bit. To put him in with Oggy at the moment, because he ain't just his age. He's had a horrible injury he's had to try and recover from as well. Yeah, and to be fair, as good a player as he was, he looks like a player who's at the end of, who's come to the end. And unfortunately, if Mavropanos was a 4, I have to say I think Oggy was even worse than Mavropanos.
Yeah,
And I feel awful because Oggy, I know you're not watching this, but on the off chance that you are, absolutely love you,
yeah,
and you've been a brilliant, brilliant player for us. But unfortunately, on Thursday night, you just had one of your worst games probably in a West Ham shirt. So I'm sorry, but I do love you. But it's got to be a 3.
yeah. It was terrible. It was. Well, look. I think we had 8 out of 11 players got donkeys last week. Even Lucas Paqueta got one
Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah.
for the Aston Villa one. Pablo Fornals, he was useless. He was, one of my favourite West Ham players without any shadow of a doubt. So I'm not going to be biased in any way. And I do think that there's outside influences, as there are for all of the others as well. But in terms of his performance, I'll leave the 3 there. It was shit. He was. The performance was shit. He isn't shit, but the performance was shit. It was terrible. I don't remember anything that he did really in that game. Do you? He was
No,
struggling.
but again, I think this is a player now whose head is completely down and
Yeah,
who knows that he's leaving probably in January. He probably wants out as soon as possible. I think Moyes has absolutely fucking ruined Fornells, if I'm honest.
yeah, he has. He has. Right, Tommy Soucek.
Suchek again, very poor.
Just done
But
what he
then
does. What did he
he's
do?
just, yeah, that's what I wonder. Like, he's just not a good footballer. I
No.
mean, people early in the season saying, "Oh, he got 2 goals." Yeah, we know he can make his runs into the box. We know he can stick a head on something, or he can swing a foot at something, but in and around the box. And yeah, sure, he'll get a goal for you every once in a while. But to think that justifies him being in the team week out, week in, week out, and the fact that David Moyes wants him in the team so badly
Yeah,
that he's moved our one world class player
for him.
out to the fucking left wing to accommodate Suchek,
No.
to me is a sackable offence in its own.
It's ridiculous. And I do think you're starting to see some bad behaviour from Paqueta, which is indicative of a guy that's a little bit pissed off at the moment. He looks pissed
Yeah,
off to me.
exactly. I mean, can you imagine? I know we talked about Emery earlier on. I don't want to beat the
Yeah.
drum too much about Emery. I just happen to be a big admirer of him as a manager. But could you imagine Emery ever
Don't think you'd ever get in the
having a
team.
world-class player like Paqueta and moving
No.
him out to the left wing, so he could accommodate a fucking second-rate player
If
in the team?
a manager like that comes in, that's the last you see of Soucek, and I believe that as well. I just don't think you'll. I don't. I just don't see what part he can play in a passing team. You can't. He can't pass. What do you reckon?
No,
Score anyway?
I mean, you just can't transition with Soucek.
No, you can't.
The guy can't pass a ball.
But
It's,
it was, but most of the evening. I mean, the guy because I think like with people say that he covers a lot of grass. Ward Prowse as well when he's in that sort of position. And do you know what? When you put him beside Declan Rice, he'd cover twice the ground of Declan Rice, and that's because the very best players, they know where to be. They read the game. They're already there. They anticipate. When you've got players that are running fucking 86 kilometres in a game, it's normally indicative of the fact that they're just fucking chasing shadows because they're never where they should be. So they're always chasing. They're up and down and they're all over the gaff. And you do find that especially with Soucek, he just chases shadows.
yeah,
He does.
and the problem is we play a low block, so we need to be able to move the ball efficiently from back to front, which means when you've got the opponents pressed up on you because you're inviting them on, and you're trying to play your way out, you
Yeah.
can't pass the ball to Soucek.
No.
Because if there's a player within 5 yards, 10 yards of him, he'll either lose the ball to that player or he'll be made to pass the ball under pressure and will give possession back to the opposition. So I just don't understand Moyes and some of our fans' obsession with Soucek.
No.
He's a very limited player.
Well, but again, I think you've got a lot of fans that just see 3 points, and I think you've got a lot of fans that just see player, goal, great player. So he scores a goal, they forget everything else. It doesn't matter. He scored a goal. He's on form. He's on form. He's on fire. You can't drop him. He's scoring goals.
Yeah, I know
I
it's.
mean, that game against Newcastle, he made 9 passes, 3 were successful in that
Yeah,
first half.
I mean,
He was
it's
shit.
it's awful.
That's
Yeah,
a shit performance for a midfielder. It's terrible.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. He was dreadful in that game.
what's the score? Come and give us a score.
You can leave the 3 on it.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'm going to upgrade Fornals because I don't think he was as like, especially because Ogbonna got a 3, he cost a goal. I don't think Fornals cost us a goal, so I'll upgrade him to a 4. I just felt bad. And James Ward-Prowse, he was directly responsible for the first goal. That was his man that he just kind of let go. He's completely lost in midfield. I don't think. I mean, that was an awful. That was bad. That was way worse than fucking Villa. You know, Fornal, Souček, and Ward-Prowse. But I think when you got Alvarez and Ward-Prowse
When
playing
you
deep,
when you say it like that, that was our midfield 3. I mean,
oh, it was
fucking.
so bad. It was so bad. I mean, and like I say, Ward-Prowse, unfortunately for him, when you play him in midfield, he hasn't got the physicality, he hasn't got the pace. You know, he hasn't. He does run a lot, and he's very good technically. Get him on the ball, he can pick a pass. He's really good technically. But to have him in a light midfield, I think you've almost got. I think Ward-Prowse is almost a luxury player. I
Yeah,
think you need to free him up so that he's in space, so that he can kind of pull the strings. You can't have him
yeah. This is
in
why, in my
critical areas.
opinion, yeah, this is why, in my opinion, our 3 in midfield should be an inverted triangle. So you've got Alvarez as the DM with Paqueta and Ward-Prowse ahead of him
Yeah.
as the 2 central midfielders.
Well, yeah, absolutely. To be honest, with a CDM, I don't like playing with 2 CDMs. I don't know why we
No,
do it.
I don't understand why we're doing it.
Because a lot of my son plays as a CDM. You know, I played in central defensive midfield. You sit in front of that back 4, and you know your job. You know where you're covering, and it's the same now with me with the kids' football team. Sometimes I do make that decision as well. If we're trying to hold on to a game, I'll put another body back next to Ben. It confuses the fuck out of everything. Because it's like, that's your zone, that's my zone. You end up not knowing what your fucking job is. So I think if you're going to have 2 players in that position, they've both got to be competent. And I don't think Ward-Prowse is a competent defensive midfielder. And that's why I think you're seeing Alvarez all of a sudden. If you look at those early games, you know, like the Brighton game, Alvarez was at the base. He was on his own. And we had 2 8s next to him. We was playing quite high. We was that weren't a bad performance. And you had Alvarez at the base. And that's how I think it needs to be. But I think someone said it the other day. How is it that the likes of Alvarez and Ward-Prowse came in looking like really good players, and the more David Moyes has hold of them,
Yeah.
no, I'm serious. The more shit they're looking. I mean, Ward-Prowse couldn't have started any better than what he did, could he?
No, astonishing start. Yeah, he's
You know?
playing really well. I was really impressed with him, and yeah, I think Moyes needs to get a grip on this midfield quickly.
Yeah, he does. I'm not going to talk about Benny too much. He was absolutely shit.
Yeah, that's my one anyway. So I'm going to talk about him.
Sorry, mate. Go on, you talk about him.
Yeah, again, it was dreadful.
Yeah.
I mean, Benny, for me, he's always been a trier. You know, he's always been a busy player. You know, he gets on the ball a lot. He tries to take on defenders and often beats them. But unfortunately, the problem with him has always been his end product. His final pass is poor.
Yeah.
His crossing has generally been poor. His shooting has been really poor. So, as good a player as he is and as technical as he is, he just it's the end product that's let him down always. And
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't even have the good stuff really against Olympiacos the other night. So it was he was a non-entity in the game. He just brought nothing to it.
Well, I'll tell you how bad he was. Cornet was a breath of fresh air when he came on.
Yeah, and Cornet didn't really do a whole lot, but he was much busier.
He was, yeah.
And he looked like he was at least trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
Benny was like playing with 10 men, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm trying to. Augie got a 3, which pained me, and Souček got a 3, and I'm trying to think, was he any better than those? And honestly, I don't think he was.
It wasn't. It's that with the. It's a worse performance in the Aston Villa game because this lot are nowhere near as good as Aston Villa. They're not, and I know that this isn't a team that's as good as the team that we put out against Villa either. But my God, it was shocking. They're not a great team, Olympiacos. They're a great name, but they ain't a good team. Right, I ain't got enough space on this graphic for all these fucking donkeys. Danny Ings, look, I feel really sorry for the guy. He was never ever suited to this team. Emery sold Danny Ings to West Ham because Emery plays with one striker and Danny Ings can't play as a lone striker, and we bought him to play as a lone striker. We keep on playing him. He's scored wherever he's been. Whatever club Danny Ings has played for. This is definitive proof, in my opinion. I know he's getting a bit older, but this is definitive proof that it's the club, it's not the players. It's the way that we're doing things, or it's Moyes anyway, his system. It's just no good for strikers. People keep on saying when they get the ump with Antonio, well, you got to get another striker. What, another one to fucking foul? I mean, I'm not surprised that the club didn't splurge on a striker this summer. I'm not. I know that we were in for a couple, but I think if I was Sullivan after the last few, I'd have been thinking, fuck off. We took a 20 million hit on Haller. We took a stupid hit on Skamaka. We brought Ings in. He can't score. He can't hit a barn door. You want another one? No, make do with what you've got. We can't seem to get the best out of any striker. But he was. I don't think he could have been any worse as a forward. Do you? Yeah.
No, he couldn't have been. No, he was completely out. He carried absolutely no threat whatsoever.
No.
A lot of the time, he was picking up the ball out on the wing.
Yeah.
And trying to win a throw-in.
I know. Right, Mohamed Kudus. I thought, like Emerson, he was probably the more defensive than offensive, but he didn't do anything offensively. No one did. But defensively, I thought he was all right, Tommy.
Yeah, he did well defensively. He tracked back, helped out. He kept himself busy. As I say, unfortunately, wasn't really able to contribute anything in attack.
No.
But to be fair, he would have had to do it on his own.
Yeah.
He'd have had to do it. It would have had to, for him to score, it would have had to have been some kind of super solo goal.
Yeah.
Where he goes past three players and rifles one in the top corner, because the players that were around him were so fucking dreadful that he just had nothing around him that was helping him out in any way. So it was a very difficult game for Kudus. He would have had to have been a one-man show up front, really, because Ings and Benny were non-factors. Ward-Prowse was playing shit. Suchek was playing shit.
Do you think he was having to come back? Do you think he was having to come back and help out Kera quite a bit as well? I think he was.
Yeah, he was. He was helping out as much as he could defensively, which was a lot of the time. So Kudus was on a kind of a hiding to nothing, really, in that game. But nonetheless, look, it was not a great performance from him. But it wasn't as terrible to say as some of the others. So probably like a very, very average game for Kudus. So I think give him a 5, I think.
Yeah. We're expecting a lot more from him, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think we will see a lot more from him, yeah.
Yeah.
When he's got better players around him, he'll be better. Yeah.
I mean, we're getting to the juicy bit now. So what we do, I think all the subs did well when they came on. I think they all made a difference. We looked better when.
Well, that was inevitable.
Yeah.
Inevitably they will, because when you're bringing on the likes of Bowen and Paqueta and Alvarez, then yeah, we're going to improve. I mean, they're just they're just better players.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll mark all of these as 6, and then we'll land on Paqueta in a minute, because he was the one who scored a goal, but he didn't play particularly well when he came on.
No.
So do you want to talk about Paqueta?
Yeah, like I said, it was a little bit underwhelming. I think he kind of got into it more in the final minutes, but for a while there, Paqueta didn't seem like himself.
No.
He was losing the ball where he normally doesn't. Normally, once he's got possession of the ball, he's incredibly difficult to dispossess. But nothing he was trying was really working. I don't know why he came in. Seemed a bit flat when he came in off the pace. I don't know what the cause of that was. But yeah, not great from him. But I thought in the final few minutes he actually started to get into it, and we saw kind of much more like the Lucas Paqueta we've become accustomed to in the closing minutes when we were really pressing for an equaliser.
Do you know what I liked, Tommy? Sorry to interrupt. What I liked from Paqueta and Antonio, actually, and Alvarez and Cornet and Bowen, what I will say, they came on, they looked fucked off. They actually looked pissed off. I mean, Antonio was angry. He looked really fucked off. I mean, he was lucky to escape a red card. He was fucking clattering their defenders when he was really clattering their defenders. Paqueta, the same.
Alvarez as well. Yeah.
Alvarez as well. They were aggressive when they came on, and I like that. I know we could have got a red card, but they came on. They showed some fucking attitude, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did, and it's like they should have started the game. Really, I mean, all of them. And,
yeah.
They looked when they came on like they were just pissed off at the fact that we were 2-0 down and playing shit. And I think they all wanted to come in and make a difference.
Yeah.
And I think they were trying to do that. And when things weren't kind of working out really as well as they'd hoped after they came on, I think they got a bit frustrated. So they got a little bit of needle, which they all can do. Antonio, Paqueta, Alvarez are all capable, of getting a bit upset and throwing themselves their weight around a little bit, which is not a bad thing. But has to be said, I mean, Paqueta then, just came up with an absolute fucking worldie.
What a fucking goal. That's what I mean. So he weren't on for long. He made a few mistakes. He showed a lot of fight. He never gave up. What a fucking goal, Tommy. He scored.
Yeah, absolute worldie of a volley. I mean, it's not easy to hit those when they're dropping out the sky like that. I mean, it's so easy to mishit those. But he hit an absolute fucking rocket into the net. Unstoppable. I mean, what a finish that was. Brilliant, brilliant player. And that's why when you've got a player like that, even if they're not quite at it, that's why you leave them on the pitch and give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're capable of moments of magic.
Yeah.
Even when they're not at their best, they're capable of moments of magic. And that's what we saw from Paqueta. And after that, he really perked up as well. He got much livelier in the game. He put some crosses in the box. He was better. So in the limited time he was on, given the impact that he had with that goal, and in the final few minutes when we were really pressing for that equaliser, I'm going to give him a 6 because that was an absolute worldie of a volley.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think because I think his performance without the goal was probably worthy of a 4, but that's definitely worth moving him up a couple of marks.
Yeah, you got to give him a 6. Plus, like I say, once we'd scored that goal, I mean, it lifted the whole team. And from that point on, we were really pressing for an equaliser, and Olympiacos got really nervy and sat back. That goal made them sit back. They were no longer feeling comfortable.
No.
So that goal not only got us back in the game, but it changed Olympiacos' attitude and it changed our attitude. And it could have led to us getting a very undeserved point.
Oh, no, yeah, and it would have been undeserved. It would have been undeserved. I'm going to change the habit of a lifetime. There's never been a single game where a referee hasn't got a donkey.
And also, by the way, Nick, before we move on, Paul Evans here saying, and that's why you play Paqueta in the middle of the park.
Exactly. It has to get it's obscene. If you look at that graphic to see Souček sat there in the middle of our team, it's upsetting. But yeah, the referees always get donkeys, but this referee could have sent off 3 of our fucking players. So he's no donkey for him.
No.
He definitely was no Peter Wanks, that one. He was a good ref. He was a good ref.
Look, we can't blame the ref for our woes on Thursday night. Everything was self-inflicted.
Yeah, and then you can take the honourable. This is what Hammers Mikey's been waiting for. David Moyes.
And he's going to get his wish. So basically, where to fucking begin? I guess we'll begin. Look, he got the starting 11 completely wrong. His attitude towards Olympiacos in Athens, desperately needing a win, was completely wrong. This ain't the Conference League. You will not get away with that in the Europa League. It was incredibly naive. Now, I don't believe for a second that Moyes, in his head, wanted to throw the game. I think he really thought that team could go out and beat Olympiacos in Athens.
But do you not find that worrying?
Yeah, that's my point. That's incredibly worrying. It's like, I mean, I saw the starting 11 and thought we're going to lose.
I know.
going to get beat. That team's not going to go and win in Athens. Moyes thought they could. Astonishing attitude. Incredible complacency from a manager, given how big a win over there would have been for us in the group. I mean, it would have made us absolute odds-on favourite to top the group.
And also, do you know something, Tommy? Is there not something to be said about momentum? I know you've got to save yourself for the weekend. I know you've got to, but in the last 6 games, we've lost 3. What we done? We've lost 3, we've drawn 2, and we've won 1 against Sheffield United.
Yeah.
With that game now. So that's how momentum has fucking gone. Now, would it not be better after the Aston Villa game to go and get a win at Olympiacos? Would that not put a bit more of a feel-good factor back into the team after getting their pants pulled down at Villa to sort of get them back to winning ways? Yeah, they might be a little bit more leggy, but is that not a better mindset for the players to be in against Everton?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the best tonic to a loss is a win. To go out and because the Villa game was really, really bad, and I think it's important when you lose, particularly when you've lost well and have played really poorly, no matter who you're playing. If you can go out in your next game and put in a much better performance and get a win, especially away from home in Europe, that's a big pick-me-up.
Of course it is. They're a big club. They're a big club as well.
Yeah, it lifts the players again.
Yeah.
And then the players can justify almost the Villa game in their heads by saying, "All right, we had a wobbler against Villa. We didn't play well, but we've been good this season. So we've put that behind us now. We've got a really good win out in Athens. We played well, and now we're ready to go. We're going to go beat Everton at home now."
And I think our first team would have murdered them.
Yeah, I mean Olympiacos are a decent enough side. They're a decent enough side that you won't get away with that starting lineup.
Yeah,
but they're not so good that they could have beaten our first 11.
No, not at all.
They weren't going to beat us if our strongest team was out. Their best case scenario on their best night was a point, and if we'd come away from there with a point, that would have been absolutely fine, actually. But Moyes got that completely wrong, and then he didn't change it when it was obviously going completely wrong. This is another thing Moyes does. Half time.
How could you look at that first half and not make any changes?
Yeah. How do you see that performance over 45 minutes, 2-0 down on the road against a team you should beat, and then not make any changes at the break? I mean, it's astonishing. I think that was the point where he said, "Fuck it. We're not going to win this game." So he was so determined to rest everyone for the Everton game that he literally decided, "Fuck it, I'm just going to throw them all back out there and cross my fingers they can play better in the second half." Why would you think they're going to come out? Even if you're saying, "Oh, we'll give you 10 minutes second half to try and turn it around." Why would you think they're going to come out and be a different team in the first 10 minutes of the second half?
I know.
And then make your changes after that when it's obviously still not working. It was idiotic, and I'll never understand it. I mean, don't tell me, our best players. He could have made 4 changes at half time and kept 1 in reserve in case of an injury. Or you said we can make 6 subs, did you?
Yeah, I thought we did, but obviously we didn't. I mean, I can't think of any other players that came on. Yeah, I thought we could. But
even if it's 5, why not bring 4 of our best players on?
But the thing is, what I don't get is look, winning is a habit. So is fucking losing. Once you kind of fall off a bit of a cliff and things start going bad, the mood from the camp will go. It will do. They won't be as happy in training now. They won't be. The mood around the place won't be as good. John's made a point as well. He says, do you not think that Moyes made so many changes because he's desperate to beat Everton, almost a must-win? Well, it is now. And if you hear David Moyes talking, whereas last year he was able to use Europe to kind of to keep him in a job. I'm getting the feeling now that I think he's got a bit of a different mandate about the league. I do think because he actually said in his press conference that the league is our bread and butter. That's kind of where we've got to. I think his mandate now is to focus more on the league. I know that the European games kind of buy him time and stuff like that, but You know, I think he's under a bit of pressure now. I do believe that as well. And I think if he loses against Everton, at home, because they're shit. Now I know they're a tough team. They're tough, but they're not a good Premier League team, Tommy. I mean, the league doesn't lie. They're not a good team. And
No, I mean, you'd have to say at the moment that they'll finish, in kind of bottom half, maybe like mid-table of the bottom half. They're looking like a team that will finish 14th or 15th, something like that.
They'll survive because there's so much shit in the league this year. They'll survive, but they're not a good team. And if he loses against them, then the next Premier League game is us going away to Brentford. We never.
I'll tell you what. Given our performance at Villa Park and our performance in Athens, I think even if they hold us to a point, that's a poor result.
Who's that? Everton.
Everton, yeah, at home.
He's got to win
against them. I mean, if we have a fucking 0-0 or a 1-1, it's probably not going to be 0-0 because we concede always. We always concede at least one goal.
Yeah.
Even if it was like a 1-1, I mean, that's not a good result at home to Everton.
What's his score anyway, Tom?
Oh, Moyes, you can leave it on 0. I don't think. Honestly, I don't think he got a single thing right in that game.
No, because you can't say, you can say, he made the changes and we sort of come back into it in the last, but we come back into it once we'd scored the goal. We looked a bit dangerous in injury time, didn't we? But that was about it. I mean, that was just him trying to unfuck his fuck up, basically. That's all he was trying to do.
He got the lineup completely wrong. His attitude towards Olympiacos was completely wrong. Made no changes at half time. And then the changes he did make, I mean, they were the obvious ones. I mean, who else do you bring on except the likes of Antonio, Paqueta, Alvarez, Bowen, these players? Of course, they're the players you bring on.
Yeah,
he played Danny Ings instead of. He could have played Mubama up there. He could have given Mubama a lift. I mean, imagine saying to Mubama, "Look, Antonio's not been great in the last couple of games. He looks like he's struggling a bit for form.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you your chance against Olympiacos. Important game for us. And if you impress, you'll really give me a decision to make on Sunday. And give him a bit of incentive to come on and have a really great game.
Absolutely.
I feel bad for Mubama because he has to be loaned out.
Yeah.
So he could go and get game time somewhere. And Moyes absolutely fucking lied to that boy's face.
He did. I'm going to give. We give Paqueta man of the match anyway because he got the good goal.
Yeah, he an absolute worldie.
Right, do you want to get that off the screen, Tom? I think you just got to click it in your bar. And
yeah, I'll get rid of it there.
There you go. Right, that's that done. Another. I mean, that's poor. Them ratings are shit.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't surprise me, Nick. To be honest, I mean, there's a lot of players that were on that pitch that are capable of much better. We know that. But the thing is, they're just completely demotivated, number one. And they knew why they were playing. It wasn't
to rest the first team.
It was simply just to rest the players who were going to start all the Premier League games, who were going to start any game that's any bit important going forward, including now Europa League games at home against Olympiacos and Freiburg, because now we have to play strong teams in that. So those players won't even get those games. A couple of them might, but we're going to have to go very strong. We have to go very strong against Olympiacos in the return leg because we have to win that game now.
Well, we're one slip up away from catastrophe now because that group is wide open. I mean, we've done the hard thing. We've won. No, we won at home, didn't we, to TSC, and then we won away at Freiburg.
Won away at Freiburg, and you're thinking, right, if we can get that third win now away to Olympiacos, we're whistling Dixie.
Yeah.
We're in a very strong position. We're going to top the group from there.
Yeah. But there's no guarantees now because now it's anyone's fucking competition. Well,
Olympiacos. I mean, Olympiacos now, they've just beaten us.
Yeah, I know.
They've just beaten us, and now they're going to come to our place, and they'll be thinking, right, boys, we're going to have to go in here and put in a really, really big performance, because if we can turn this lot over, or even get a point in London, that, if Freiburg turn them over when they play them there, which could happen, then we could finish second ahead of this lot. And so they're motivated now. They're back in it. They're back in the hunt. So when Olympiacos come to London, they're really going to be at it. You know.
They will be absolutely, and the pressure's on us completely. The pressure's on us now.
We have to win that now.
But sort of looking ahead to the games, Tommy, like you're looking at just look at the games we've got coming up. If we lose against Everton, I mean that does a bit of thinking about. But even worse than that, if we then go and lose to Mikel Arteta's fucking B team midweek, get knocked out of the cup, and then go and lose to Brentford, that's 5 straight defeats at that point. Now, like I said, this is kind of reflective from what I see at the start, what I saw at the start of the season happening. Loads of people saw it. It weren't just me. Loads of people saw it happening because of the amount of chances that we were conceding. We thought the way we're playing, the team is going to go the same way. Because when you play this negatively with so many flair players, eventually they're going to start getting fed up and fucked off. It's what happened last year. You're going to start seeing those performances dwindle. Now, if we see that, if we have 5 straight defeats and we drop down into, I don't know, fucking 12th place, 13th place, we're out the EFL Cup. The Europa League thing is now wide open. What is the right thing to do at that point? Because if you're not going to basically keep Moyes on at the end of the season, if you're not going to, so say they're not going to, does it not just make sense at that point just to say goodbye and say thank you? You've done your job. Try and get your next manager in. I appreciate there might be some managers like Alonso, who I don't think we're going to get now anyway, because they're touting him for Real Madrid. But if you're looking at the likes of Potter, who will take time to embed his philosophy in the team, we're never going to get relegated because there's so many shit teams in the division this year. You get him in midway through the year. He's got the January transfer window. He can have 3 months to embed his philosophy in, fucking around, doing what he wants. We're never going to get relegated. And then going into next season, he's away. He's away. He's ready to go. Or what do? Do you run this whole season through with us losing games, with the bad feeling around the camp, with players like Kudus losing the will to live, with players like Mabama, whose contract's up in the summer, basically getting to the stage where he goes, I ain't fucking signing another contract. The likes of, who's the other lad who plays in the youth academy as well? Callum Marshall, another one. His contract's up. Because this is the thing, the damage it gets done throughout the course of a season. We've seen it already. The likes of Skamaka, no one could have changed his mind. His mind was made up. He's like, no, fuck off. I'm going. I've had enough. Because it isn't just a reflection of when you're a player in that environment, you end up being sick of where you are. You're like, I just want to get out of here. I want to go. So what do you do at that point? If in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he loses those games, what is the right thing to do? Is the right thing to do to stick with him because we won't get relegated this year and just make a change in the summer? Or do you try and save the season? Make a proactive change. We're not going to keep him next year anyway. Let him go now. Get your new man in. Get Potter in. Someone like that. Get him in. Let him fucking try and change things around. I don't know, mate.
Yeah. Well, look, to me, common sense right now, I think would be if Graham Potter is willing to take control of this group of players, and I don't see why he wouldn't be. It would be hard for me to turn that down because
he's got a transfer window as well. He can bring a few players.
Exactly. He's got the January transfer window, as you say.
Yeah.
And if he were to take over soon, he would have more than enough time between now and January to assess the squad.
Yeah.
And to see what he wants to do in January, to have a talk with Steidton and say, look, this is how I play, or you've seen how I play. These are the kind of positions that I think I really need to improve so that to get players in that can play the way I need them and do the things I need them to do so they can get basically in step with each other. I'd love to see that happen. Obviously, I think we're nowhere near that happening.
Yeah.
I think things would have to nosedive in a very, very big way for Sullivan to sack Moyes.
Yeah.
I would love to see it happen, though. I would love to see it happen. I think it would be much better to watch too. And I'd actually, because we have actually built a good squad of players here.
We really
the first
have.
11, like the first with everybody fit, the first 11 we can put on the pitch are very good in Premier League terms. A very good first 11, and I would love to see what someone like Graham Potter, for example, could do with those players. What he could get out of them. And
I do think that the midfield is going to need addressing because we lost Rice, and like I said, it looked on the face of it with Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse, and Paqueta that we'd fix the issues. But like I say, that was the first few games. It's not looking that way now. Teams are walking through us. They are. Aston Villa, they pissed us. They pissed our midfield. I've not seen our midfield get dominated like that for a long time. And when you look at who Tim Stein did want, there was a big story on it. They all went to watch him at Arsenal when they was playing Monaco, I think it was. He wanted Alvarez and he wanted Fofana in central midfield. So we would have had a central midfield three of Alvarez, Fofana, and Paqueta. That would have been the midfield three. You've got an absolute fucking powerhouse, a beast of a guy in central midfield, pace, power, got all the ability in the world with Paqueta freed up. And you've got Alvarez doing all the blocking as well.
I mean, the balance would have been perfect.
That's who Tim wanted to bring in.
Yeah.
But I think Moyes got his own way on that one with James Ward-Prowse because it kind of, if you're going to keep Moyes for the season, you've got to kind of give him a player. I think James Ward-Prowse was Moyes' player. And it's kind of all, and look, I don't want it to seem like I'm hating on James Ward-Prowse. I'm not. I just think there's a reason why other teams weren't in for him. And I think the Premier League, in the midfield, I think you need physicality. I do think you need something. And he's got all the technical ability in the world, James Ward-Prowse. You won't find anyone with a better right foot.
That's why I still think he'll be okay if he plays as number 8. Like I said earlier, if you've got Alvarez, who sits as the DM centrally in front of the back four,
with James Ward-Prowse and Paqueta.
And then ahead of him, you've got Paqueta and Ward-Prowse. Ward-Prowse stays in the middle of the park. Right, he's kind of the conductor. He gets on the ball, he knocks it about, keeps things moving, keeps it tidy, which he's capable of doing. And then Paqueta's the one with the free roll, who can go wherever he needs to go, left or right, out pivoting from that central role, left and right, getting forward, in and around the box as well, doing his passes, doing his little flicks and stuff, and affecting things in the final third. I just feel like that he's the kind of free role player, and then I think Ward-Prowse would be better. Paqueta would be able to flourish.
I just feel like that athleticism, if you'd have had the likes of a Fofana in there, that if you imagine if you've got Alvarez with the athleticism of Fofana in the 8 and then Paqueta in the free role, that's a formidable fucking midfield, isn't it?
Yeah, because you've got your perfect balance, right? You've got your defensive midfielder who
ain't ever beating that midfield.
Yeah, you've got the defensive midfielder who shields. You've got the box-to-box powerhouse in Fofana, and then you've got this amazing conductor, who makes everything tick in Lucas Paqueta. You've got the magician in there as well, and I mean that would have been just an amazing midfield three. It's just mouth-watering. At the moment, though, we've got a Ward-Prowse who's playing too deeply, and a Thomas Souček who trips over his own feet.
He does, and the other one as well that we was linked with in the summer was the one that we came very close to signing, and that would have solved our left forward problem, and that was that Carlos Borges from Man City, the fucking absolutely lightning left inside. What is it? He's left-footed, but he's an inside forward. He can use both feet. Yeah, he's fucking electric. Like if you're playing a counter-attacking game, this is why I couldn't understand why Moyes didn't want that one, because he's like Bowen, but on the other side. He's so direct. So he would, and that's why they said that he was probably their best player in their youth academy, Borges, but he didn't suit what Pep does because he was so direct. Even though I suppose if you look at Doku's quite direct. But that's apparently why they moved him on, because he didn't quite fit their philosophy. Whereas with our team, the way that we play, he would have been fucking outstanding.
Yeah.
To have had him on, as a left forward.
Have you noticed as well how fucking good Cole Palmer looks at Chelsea?
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Oh, he looks an absolute baller as well. We were linked with him as well. There was a possibility of maybe just getting him in as well. But
but I do think the majority of the players that we signed in the summer, Mavropanos was Kretinsky, Steiten, Alvarez was Steiten. You've heard it from the horse's mouth. Alvarez was Steiten. and Kudus was starting as well. So the majority of the players that we signed, they were his players. And I think they're all, I think Mavropanos and Aguirre, when we do play, I made a suggestion earlier on, right, about how, because I think David Moyes is going to, he would have to have massive bollocks to go into the Everton game without making any changes. I know Emerson's not playing, but to play the same way. And because if that fucks up, he is going to get slaughtered. He will get absolutely slaughtered. If he makes no changes at all, I think I'm quite excited for Everton because I think that he's now been backed into a corner. I think he's forced to make changes. And I said, if you're shaking things up completely and you want to sort of surprise the opposition, I made the suggestion today on Twitter, and I said, a Harry Redknapp style 3-5-2. So what I said was, you play with a back three, you put Zuma in the middle, flanked by Aguirre and Mavropanos either side. So you can play high because they've got loads of pace to burn. You can play high, compress the field of play. Emerson's not playing. So I thought, from what we saw of Cornet the other day, bring him in, play him on as a left wing back, give him a little go as a forward player. On the right, Kehrer or Cornet, doesn't matter. But then in the middle, I think my suggestion was it was Alvarez and Paqueta at the base. So Alvarez doing the blocking, Paqueta doing that kind of battling and that kind of ball, just a bit of creation from deep. Then I said put Kudus in the 10, free roll. He can do what he wants. Go up front. You got Antonio up there, basically up there just as a disruptive influence to batter the defence, create space. That's all I would want Antonio to do. Just basically occupy defenders, create space for Bowen and Kudus running in, and Bowen there as a finisher, as a poacher, running into the space that Antonio creates. So if you play something like that, and then if you've got Cornet on the left as kind of as a winger, and then you've got Kehrer, it would be my choice, or Soufal, whatever, out on the right, then you've got people whipping the balls in. I mean, to be honest, if you're going to play James Ward-Prowse, you probably could play him out on the right wing in a situation like that, because he's got a great right foot and he can get good deliveries in. So you could play James Ward-Prowse out wide right because he runs, he gets up and down. He's as quick as Soufal, James Ward-Prowse. So you could play him as a wing back, sort of out there on the right, getting balls in from the right hand side. And you got, like I say, you've got Paqueta from deep, you've got Alvarez doing his job, 2 ball winners, Kudus buzzing around, creating, attacking them, and you've got Antonio battering people with Bowen up there.
Yeah.
Bit of a Redknapp. Balls out, fucking go for it.
I tell you what, that wouldn't have surprised the shit out of Sean Dyche.
It would do, yeah.
He'd be completely unprepared for that.
I know.
That would be completely out of the blue. And you know, he would not have prepared for that whatsoever. You know, Dyche knows what's coming. Here's the thing, though. We do have, Moyes does have a problem here for the Everton game because Emerson is suspended. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. I mean, I assume Cresswell will just slot in there. He's available, I think.
Yeah.
But he hasn't played for a while. But Moyes knows him, obviously, and trusts him. So I think he'll take the simple answer. He has weirdly played Kehrer at left back for some bizarre reason before.
Yeah, I know. He's got Johnson as well. I think he'll play Johnson back there or something like that. I think it might be what he does.
Yeah, it has to be kind of Johnson or Cresswell. They're the only two we've got left who can actually play left back.
Yeah.
It'll probably be Cress. I imagine he's ahead of Johnson.
Johnson's better performances come at left back as well, don't they?
Yeah, weirdly, yeah. Strangely for a right back, I think his debut was actually really good at left back in a very difficult game against Man City when he made his debut under Pellegrini, and he's chucked him in at left back against City, and he's actually had a really decent game.
He was phenomenal for a run of games.
Yeah,
he was brilliant. I think there was some stupid stat where he hadn't been dribbled past for about 6 consecutive games or something. He was blocking everything. And this is what I mean. This is another player, another star player that I don't think David Moyes has made the best of. If you listen to any of the noises coming out the club, Johnson's attitude, there's nothing wrong with it. He's got a great attitude. He's hardworking, but but he's quite quiet. And I think these are the type of players that get lost in a David Moyes world because I don't know. He hasn't nurtured him. He's a player that we could have built on what he had. I think he's just gone backwards. He's gone backwards under Moyes.
Yeah, he has. He's another player, I think, along with Fornals that Moyes absolutely ruined.
Yeah,
I think Ben Johnson had a really bright future. From what we saw under Pellegrini, he was progressing nicely.
yeah,
Um, he was growing into it. He was getting more confident, more experience. And then Moyes came in and basically flogged him from pillar to post. He was playing him all over the place. That was when he did play him. Sometimes
yeah,
at right back, sometimes at left back. Sometimes he'd put him in as a right centre back. He'd play in a right wing back. For a young player just breaking into a team who's still kind of learning his trade at the highest level, which is crucial, a crucial time for a player's development.
yeah,
When you're getting moved around all over the pitch, it's very difficult to develop.
yeah,
So he turned a very promising young right back um, into a utility player who was being used just to plug holes whenever necessary,
yeah,
and turned him into a jack of all trades but master of none.
yeah,
Whereas if he'd have taken Johnson under his wing, played him at right back, left him there at right
yeah,
back, even with mistakes, and said, "Look, you're going to make mistakes. You're young. You're learning. It's okay. Don't feel too bad about it. Keep your head up. Stay confident. You wouldn't be in the team if I didn't believe in you. And with experience, you'll continue to improve, and the mistakes will drop off, and you'll just keep getting better and better." I just wonder all the time when I think about Ben Johnson, if Moyes had done that, if he'd done right by him,
a
and
hundred
just
percent.
put him at left back and left him there and played him, what kind of right back would we have in Ben Johnson today?
But this is what I'm saying with other players as well. I mean, you've got someone like Thilo Kehrer, who this is a German international, and I know they're not the best German team in the world, but this is a guy that's fucking. He went to PSG. You don't get picked up by these teams and become a fucking German international if you're shit. You don't. He's still relatively young. He's only 26. He's technically far superior to Vladimir Sufal. He's quicker, snappy in the tackle. I would have, if I wanted a right back, he's a type of player, I would have persisted with him in that position. Let him, if he isn't, because I know typically the way he played like the right hand side of a back three, that's normally how he plays. But let him learn the fucking position. He would learn it. He would become a good player. We might already have our replacement right back there in Carey. You just don't know. But he comes in, don't play well. Oh, he's shit. Gone missing again for another 10 games now. Don't see him. He's
Yeah, and then he gets chucked in away to Olympiacos
yeah, yeah, yeah.
with a bunch of players who are also all just been chucked in, who never play together, who aren't match fit or match sharp.
And am I right in saying that Kehrer finished the season very well, didn't he?
Yeah,
He finished last season very, very well. There was nothing wrong with Kehrer last year. But I'll tell you what, I have got a bit of information, and this ain't from Sean Whetstone, everyone, but it is from someone close to the club. Not going to say who it is. What I said was, I asked him some questions about left back. I said, "What are your thoughts on left back for Sunday's game with Emerson out? Cresswell or Johnson fit? Do you know?" And then I asked him about Divin Mabama as well. I said, "I feel sorry for Divin. Why didn't we just loan him out?" He said Johnson is ahead of Cresswell with fitness, but to be honest, I'd expect Cresswell to start. So Johnson's fitter than Cresswell, but he'd expect Cresswell to start.
tried and
And
trusted Moyes kind of
yeah, and in
work.
respect to Divin Mabama, he said it's crazy, mate. He said plus his contracts, as we know, I've already said that it is in his final year, and apparently he's changed agents as well. So this is a player, Mabama, who yeah, we could end up losing. And I don't know. Listen, apparently, Football Manager, I don't play it, my son does, but he said the stats engine and everything that they use is very similar to what the information that they put into that game is very similar to the real world stuff. Do you know like what Brighton use and everything else? They've got proper scouts that look at these things, and apparently the level for Mabama's incredibly highly rated, incredibly highly rated. So this is what I mean. How can we not be giving him a chance? I mean, I know we're only 9 games in. I know we are, but what are we doing?
See, this is what I was talking about
What are we
earlier on,
doing?
Nick. Yeah, this is what I was talking about
Just
earlier on.
fucking use him and see what
Yeah,
he can do.
yeah. Mubama, I feel really bad for because Moyes did lie to the boy's face. He wanted to go out on loan because he felt like he wasn't going to get much of an opportunity to play any football. I mean, he felt like he was behind Antonio, obviously, but he also felt that he was behind Danny Ings and that he was going to see little to no actual meaningful game time. So he wanted to go out on loan and try and get some regular football somewhere to help develop himself. But Moyes said, no, stay here. You're in my plans for next season. You're going to get game time. Just a straight up fucking lie. Moyes brings on a Danny Ings who does not suit our system and brings absolutely nothing to the team.
Yeah.
Ahead of Mubama. Mubama realises that now, especially after the Olympiacos game.
Oh, hang on, mate.
So
what's up? I am, yeah, sorry. Sorry, mate, it's just my son.
Yeah, no worries. He realises that now, Mubama, that he's made a mistake in staying up this season, because Moyes did tell him a fib to keep him at the club, so that he wouldn't have to go and buy a striker, basically.
Could it have been, if he was in his last year, could that be the reason why we didn't loan him out? Because he wouldn't have signed a new contract. And if we'd have loaned him out, he could have done well elsewhere and then not come back to us. Do you think that might be why we've kept him, to try and see what we could do with him, give him some game time to see if we can see if there's a player there that we can offer a contract to? Could that be the reason why?
Yeah, it could be, but the problem is, if you're going to do that, you have to actually play him.
I know.
There's no point keeping him on that basis and then never giving him any game time. I think he's got about 10 minutes this season so far.
Mate, go back to Antonio, right? Antonio, we brought him in. It was it Bilic who brought Antonio in? We brought him in
from Forest, yeah.
And apparently, you can imagine, because he ain't technically gifted, Bilic was not impressed with him in training. He thought he looked not very good.
He chucked him in at right back.
Yeah, he chucked him in at right back, but then what he tried to do was he tried to basically loan him out, and Mickey refused to go. He said, "No, I want to stay and fight for my place." And Bilic actually came out and said, "I didn't know what Antonio could do until I put him on the pitch, and then I was like, oh fuck," it was because that's what I mean. You don't know until you throw them in. You don't know. Training isn't competitive. You might have someone that might look great in training, but then you put them in a competitive game, they just shrink, they go missing. You might have somebody that looks quite average, they're not technically gifted, but like Antonio, because he's physicality and everything else, stick him on the pitch and you're like, fuck me, he's marauding everywhere, he's knocking everyone over, he's really effective. So how do you know what this kid can do really, unless you play him, back him, give him some confidence? That's the other thing as well. Don't just stick him up there on his own, put him in a team and help him succeed. Put players around him, play him with Bowen, playing with Kudus, playing with Paqueta.
Yeah. I mean, Paul Evans saying here because he's not prem ready. Well, free Mubama, but look, no player who comes out of the youth team is prem ready.
No,
they're not prem ready. I mean, do you think when Bilic gave Declan Rice his debut that Declan Rice was prem ready? No, he wasn't. He made mistakes. He cost us goals early on, Declan Rice. But in fairness to Bilic, he persisted with him.
He did, and so did Pellegrini as well.
And so did Pellegrini. They kept him in there. They allowed him to grow into a Premier League player. And look at Rice. What Rice became. An incredible defensive midfielder.
I'll tell you what, Declan Rice would have come in. He'd have made that mistake at Newcastle. We'd have never seen him again under David Moyes.
I was just going to say it.
We'd have never seen him again.
Declan Rice was coming through at West Ham.
Yeah.
With Moyes in charge. Yeah. He'd have had no chance.
No, none.
And that's the worry. And that's the worry going forward. So I think, for me, that's another reason why I think Moyes has got to go at the latest by the end of this season. Because we've got a really, really good group of youngsters at the club right now. Now, obviously, there's only so many of them are actually going to make it in the end, at West Ham. But there's enough of them there that at least a couple of these players should prove good enough.
Mate, 3.5 years, 4 years, he hasn't got one youth player to his name that he's brought through.
Not one.
Not a single player.
This is a guy who had to be forced to play Wayne Rooney at Everton.
I know.
You've got
the crowd were demanding it because they all knew. They all knew. You know what it's like when we had Joey Cole coming through. Everyone knew.
You've got this
generational talent, and he was being demanded. Like the fans were singing for fucking Rudy to come on, and I think he came on his debut was against Arsenal. We gave him like 5-10 minutes, and he just came on and just banged that fucking goal in, didn't he? That worldie, And this is I know that's a generational talent. But
Actually,
the thing is,
that was against Arsenal
yeah, against
when he made
Arsenal.
his debut as a 16-year-old,
Yeah,
and he scored twice against Arsenal in a 2-1 win, and one of them was that worldie, that long range curler with his right foot in the top
yeah.
corner. I'll never forget that. It
And
was
to think
what a
he was trying to
debut.
stifle him, and that is a 16-year-old Rooney. So look, I'm not being funny. If you're good enough, you're old enough.
Yeah,
As far as I'm concerned, you are. And you know that was a player in Rooney. He had a winner's mentality, so nothing could, nothing could kind of knock him. I don't think David Moyes helped him in any way. I think he always, he's like he's probably trying to suppress him all the time.
yeah.
Because if you
But,
listen to
well,
the,
Wayne Rooney though is a bit of a free spirit, isn't he?
he's a free spirit. Yeah, he knew he wanted to come on. Apparently, what he said, didn't he, in the podcast? He said I used to get the instructions from Moyes, which was basically, just sit back, don't do anything. Track back. And apparently, Rooney used to run on the pitch, go fuck off. He used to grab the ball and just go direct, run at the goal, just because that was his moment, and he's right because he's got 10 minutes to show what he can do.
Yeah, exactly. And Jolson, didn't we win the under 21? No, not under 21. We won the under 18s. We won the league, the under 18s, and the FA Youth Cup. So did the double last season. Those players are playing in the under 21s, or is it better than Premier League 2, they call it. So they're essentially under 21s this season. And this is the time now. And I just fear for them because when you look at it, I mean, who's going to get a chance out of those under 21s? You just don't see any of them. I mean, if Obama can't get a game,
no, look, I think they will. I think this crop that we've got coming through, they're in the 18s. So the next manager that we get in, you would like to think that Noble, who's in control of, he's heading up the youth academy now, and that's his passion. As is Tim Stuyton. He loves, he likes to buy players in and create players, but he also loves nothing better, than a freebie, bringing a player through. He's all about business, so that's a massive part of it. The next manager will have to conform to that idea. I'm certain of it. I think it will be a manager like that. And do you know what? Most managers would. Surely that's got to be one of the most rewarding jobs.
Yeah.
Is bringing a youth player through. The fans love nothing more than that. Having a player that's come through the youth academy, you kind of really get attached to them. So, yeah, I think that'll be. I think they'll be all right. But it's the players that we've got now. Callum Marshall has a year's extension, so he's got a year left, but they can trigger a year's extension. So Marshall's okay. Mabama hasn't. So Mabama is literally got 1 year left, and that's it. So we're either going to play him and give him a contract, or we're going to lose him. And apparently there are a lot of Premier League clubs sniffing around him.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, he looks a very good youngster, and
yeah,
like you, right now, I think I would imagine at this moment in time, Obama has absolutely no intention of signing a contract.
Not under Moyes. Not under
Moyes. I don't. How could he possibly see a future at West Ham under David Moyes? You just can't.
No.
And it's the same for all of our youngsters. Someone's saying Callum Marshall banged in a hat trick tonight.
He's on fire. He's an absolute fire.
Yeah. I mean, let's put it this way.
Could he do worse than Ings?
I was literally just going to ask the same question.
Oh, sorry. But no, but I'm saying you've got a player like that. Could he be less effective than Ings was the other night?
No.
Do you think? He couldn't be less effective.
You can't be less effective than completely ineffective, right? So,
no.
You've got options there. Particularly, but I feel particularly bad from Obama. He should have started it out there. But we've got other players as well. I think Ashley Hamret mentioned one, like George Earthy. Like that left-hand side is a problem. Like Paqueta shouldn't be over there. He should be in the centre as part of that three. And we don't have anything else. The only reason he's over there is we've got nothing else over there.
No.
So you could bring someone in like Earthy, put him over on that left-hand side, and say, "All right, son, just go and show us what you can do." We'll give you a few games there because we don't have much going on at left midfield at the moment. So I'm going to put you out there, give you a run of games, give you your chance.
But you got him, you got Rig, you got there are so many fucking players that we've got at the moment that the names that you're hearing popping up. And the thing is, when you hear, because His stats of giving youth players a debut, right? They're not bad. So people will throw that stat at you. He's given 12 players. And the reason he does that, Tommy, is because he never really recalls and uses the same players again. He brings them in because it's almost like he doesn't want them to get ahead of themselves. So he will bring in 3 players, give them a little taster, never see them again. Bring in the next 3, because what was it? It was Ollie Scholes, wasn't it? Wasn't it Ollie Scholes last year? And
that was out in Bucharest, and Scholes was man of the match in that game.
Where's he gone?
Where is he? We need a left back Sunday.
Where's he gone?
We need a left back Sunday.
I know.
Why not put Ollie Scholes at left back? Throw a wobbly.
It's almost like he thinks he's ticking a box, but he ain't, because we're not fucking stupid. Neither are these players. They're not stupid either. You like to think the club are not, because part of his job should be, that's a massive part of his job. If they're putting all that work into the academy, creating these players, and you got a guy like that, basically just fucking cock blocking everyone, getting through and giving us a chance, because there must be nothing better for the club, look, in terms of the owners, through selling someone like Declan Rice for over 100 million, who's a homegrown talent. That's money for nothing. He's given us loads of good years, and then we've sold him and made a massive profit on him. That is literally the best thing ever. That's like winning the lottery, isn't it? So it should be part of your mandate to try and bring players through. That's the whole idea of having an academy.
And the thing is, Moyes is actually very lucky at the moment that we actually have a really talented crop of youngsters.
Yeah, I know.
So the opportunity is there. Like, he can't use the excuse that the academy isn't producing players.
He can't. No,
this is a crop that have done the league and cup double.
You got the bookies foe there. He said Scholes is still too young, lads.
No, he's not.
Look, we just mentioned Rooney made his debut at 16. If these players, you bring them in, you make them men. That's what you do. You bring them in, you put them into men's football. That's the important thing, because the level they're playing at the moment isn't great. If you put them in that environment, honestly, some of them will sink, some of them will swim. They will. If you put them in that environment, they'll take the opportunity. Their level will come up. Mark Noble said it. He said it on a podcast. He said he was a good player in the academy. He said, but he got his debut. He was nervous, and he said when he was playing in the men's game, he said, I started doing things I didn't know I could do. He said because it was kind of like adrenaline. He said I kind of my game went up. He said I was probably the best I ever played.
Remember that early volley he scored?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, you don't know what someone's capable of until you've given them a chance. You don't know. So this is what I don't get with. It's like he's scared of somebody looking good, because it's almost like with Flynn Downs, because you know what he's like. He is a fucking narcissist. Flynn Downs last season got back-to-back man of the match performances in Europe, and then he eventually forced his way into the team. I think because we had injuries. Yeah. Did he play him at CDM? Did he fuck? He played Flynn Downs as a number 10. He played him right wing. We never once saw him sitting next to Deck. That was what we all wanted to see. Yeah. Never once saw that, because obviously Souček's there. He just.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you look at, even if he feels like he has to play Paqueta on the left, I mean, would Freddie Potts do any worse than Souček?
No. Well, Freddie Potts, do you know what? Let him stay where he is. He's having a good season at Wickham.
He's great season at Wickham.
He's playing well. He's playing well. So he can stay where he is. And I said this at the start of the season. I said we should have allowed Divim Obama. We should have spared him David Moyes this year. Mark Noble should have. Mark Noble, he's looking after the youth academy. He should have looked at this and gone, no, Divin, you go out, play men's football. But then it could be the contract situation. If he only had a year left and he wasn't going to sign an extension, and he might have been saying, no, I want to break into the first team. You don't know what it is. It could have been a bit of that. It could have been the player saying, no, I've seen what's happened. I've seen what's happened with Josh Cullen, where you've kept him in your academy for fucking donkey's years. You've been loaning him out. Every time he goes out, he gets like player of the season wherever he goes. You end up letting him go at 24, 25 out to Anderlecht. He eventually comes back to Burnley. His career didn't even get started till he was 26, because we just fucking kept him. We just kept hold of him for too long. He's a great player with a great attitude. So I think some of these youngsters will look at that and go, no, I'm good enough now. You either want me or you don't.
Yeah.
No.
It's a good point for Peter Chelmsford here. Kadua is a really good
Very
player
good,
as well.
yeah.
Who could do a job. He looks a real talent. There's quite a few of them, but we'll never know, frankly, until Moyes goes. We'll never know what they're capable of doing, which ones are capable of making that step up and which aren't, because we'll never see them.
Matt B said there, the more that we talk about Moyes, and this is the thing, and the more we talk about his shit choices, the more my fucking blood boils. There is honestly, right, if you wrote on positives and negatives with David Moyes, the negatives would outweigh the positives so much. Honestly, it really would. He's fucking, it really, really would. There are so many negatives with this guy, and then people just go, best manager we've ever had, won us a trophy. You're like, fuck off, please do me a favour. He's, I understand the record books will probably dictate, hopefully not for long, because hopefully the next manager will move on and we'll go on to better things. I think we will. I don't think it's any coincidence that we've thrown $500 million at David Moyes. I think this club means business now. We ain't going to stop spending when David Moyes is gone, Tommy.
No, we're not. No, we're going to back our managers, and we've got spending power. So that's the frustrating thing for me, and it brings it back to something I tweeted earlier this evening, and I got a very strong negative reaction to it on Twitter. You'll be amazed to hear. You'll be shocked to hear, Nick.
I probably wouldn't.
I had said because Villa went to Alkmaar, and done them in as well, the same way they did to us. They beat them 4-1 out there. And I just happened to mention that I quote tweeted and said that this is the team that in both legs last season that we scraped past. And then, of course, I got the usual people.
It's a fair comment.
And so I had to respond again to say that my point was that we are, personnel-wise, every bit as good a team as Villa. We are also a much better team than Alkmaar. But because of the difference in attitude and managerial ability between Moyes and Unai Emery, Villa showed it in that game. Villa went there and basically
ripped
dominated them. Dominated them and just shredded them, put 4 past them, just absolutely swatted them away like a fly, which is exactly what teams like ourselves and Villa should be doing to teams like that. And I was just illustrating the difference in mentality. Moyes is always the negativity. It's always like he makes every fucking body look like a match for us. Even when we beat them, he makes these teams look like this real game that we're in with this lot. And it pisses me off because Villa went there and did what they should be doing to a team like Alkmaar.
He's a just enough merchant, just enough.
It's the kind of let's just sit back, keep it tight, and we'll try and nick our goals on the counter attack. He gives far too much respect to teams that don't deserve it. Villa went there and Emery has them set up to say, look, we're a better team than you. And they stamped their authority on the game, dominated the game, stuck 4 past them, easy peasy, job done. Moyes likes to make everything fucking difficult.
It does. But it's what Happy Hammerette says. Hello, Happy. She says, even when we win, everyone slates more. Well, look, I think it does come down to the fact, look, with me, I've said it so many times. It is football, isn't it? Entertainment. It's being a West Ham fan. I mean, I've never, apart from the trophy we just won, I've never known us to win anything. It's never meant. My most memorable years of West Ham, like the most recent one, was 15-16. We didn't won fuck all that year, but that was just a season full of memories of great nights going out at any team. I remember that season.
I'm going to say, sorry, Nick, 2 seconds. KPWHU saying, would Villa have done that for a semi-final? Villa against that team in a semi-final
will destroy them.
Will destroy over 2 legs.
It could be even worse.
Over 2 legs, Villa will absolutely destroy Alkmaar.
And
it will not be close. There'll be 6-7 goals clear over the 2 legs. They'll absolutely destroy. I mean, imagine what Villa do to Alkmaar at Villa Park.
Yeah, no, I know. They're going to get opened up. But But no, but what I was saying was like with me, it's just about entertainment. That is what it is. I can't stand the style of football, Happy. And if we didn't have such a great team, if it wasn't like basically the players that we've got, they're being held back. They are.
Yeah.
As Tommy said,
if we were Sheffield United, you'd understand.
If we were Sheffield, I wouldn't moan. Fair enough. Play your low block. We're shit. That's fine. Whatever. Because that is the style that we play is the style of the inferior team. The inferior team tries to block the better team, and then the better team has to try and carve the other team open, and it just kills me. And I just think that we will be at some point. Even I'm going to be happy at some point when he goes, and we get a new manager in that plays a progressive way, which is Tim's philosophy. The players that we're getting in are going to, it kind of, you can see that the likes of Kudus and players like that. We're going to be playing a technical game at some point, and I think then we're all going to be happy. If you look at the atmosphere, like I say at Villa Park, it weren't like that a few years ago. If you look at the atmosphere at the moment at Tottenham, he's been dead for years there. Now it's erupting and Arsenal with Arteta, and it's not because they're winning stuff. It's because they're enjoying the football. And it's exciting when your team goes at the fucking opposition and you're brave. When your team are brave, there's something to be said, and that's what I want. And then all this division will be gone. It's just we're better than this. West Ham are better than this. This is so un-West Ham like to be such a fucking pussy team, and that's what it's like going into a game just defeatist, worrying about what the opposition are going to do. Our old game plan is about stopping them. That is the most anti-West Ham thing ever.
Yeah. And the worst thing is, and to add insult to injury, we're not stopping them.
No, I know.
We concede lots of goals, and we give up lots of chances.
And we're so much better than that. We are. And Moyes has. I'm not taking, and this is the thing, and I'm not caveating it just for the sake of it. I mean it. David Moyes was the right manager at the right time for us. He came in, he did very well. He did. He couldn't have done any better. He exceeded all of our expectations. But he has got a fucking ceiling. He's unfortunately for Moyes, he hit 6th and 7th, which is his ceiling, too fucking soon because we're coming down the other side now. And the fact of the matter is, you're only ever going to go so far with a manager like that. You are. He done his job. We should have said thank you. We should have moved on. He's a guy that lays the foundations and then you move on with your projects. He was a right manager at the right time. We've got to learn when to say goodbye. Not as fans, because it ain't our job. We can't sack a manager or keep him. The fucking club have. The club have got to be more ambitious. They've got to identify it and go, right, I've got this guy in. If you're laying a patio or something like that and you've got 2 different jobs there and the guy's laid the fucking cement, and then there's another guy, a specialist, to come in and lay the marble on top. You don't stick with the guy who's just laid the fucking cement base. You go and get a specialist in to put the marble on top.
Yeah, I mean, and like no one's ever going to tell me that our players love the way we play. No one's going to tell me that. I think. Could you imagine? Let's say for a second we swap managers with Villa, right? So we send David Moyes to them, and they send us Unai Emery. No one's going to tell me our players wouldn't enjoy much more playing that style of play that Unai Emery plays, and that the Villa players, after a couple of months of playing low block counter-attack shit that Moyes likes to play, after having played for Emery, wouldn't be thinking, what the fuck is this?
Do you know how buzzing that place would be, that training ground now, especially with the flair players, perhaps not your Thomas Součeks and players like that, and Soufals, because they'll probably be out the door.
The plumbers wouldn't like it.
Yeah, they won't like it. But you go out and you get a fucking top manager in that's going to get us playing a different style, the uplift in that place. All of a sudden, that is when we become a serious team. That's when we become a serious team, because I do think we're established now. We're spending top 10 money. Anything less than top 10's a failure. It's as simple as that, and I do believe we're going to continue spending money as well. We're not going to stop. So just get the fucking manager in. What's Mandy G said? Question, Nick. How would a progressive manager line us up?
Well, the thing is not really about formations. It's about the philosophy.
It's a philosophy. It's attacking. So I've said this so many times. Last season, what I said was we was talking about the formation. What formation you're going to play? I said it don't matter whether you play a 4-2-3-1-5 at the back or whatever else. You still end up with 10 men behind the ball. It doesn't matter what shape it looks like on the graphic, because of our philosophy and because you know, the wingers have fucking defensive responsibilities which overarch the attacking, we always end up with regressed. You know, we don't, and it's shape. And I've said before, if with David Moyes, it's what made me laugh last year when he said he tried to play a possession-based game. Well, to play a possession-based game, you've got to pass. And if you're going to be effective at passing, you've got to pass and move. Well, you can't move if you're going to be rigid with shape. You physically can't do it. You've got to pass and sit. So you've got to be fluid. You know, it's got to be like a living organism. You know, so a fullback can bomb on and cut inside and go up there. Someone else automatically covers them, move in pieces and stuff like that. You confuse the opposition. That's what Aston Villa did to us. We didn't know who to track. We was confused.
Yeah,
with some of their patterns of play, they was mesmeric, really, compared to what we watch, which is the most basic form of football. It's almost Sunday League football, but with Lucas Paqueta.
Yeah, it's the difference between. It's the difference between like paint by numbers and Picasso, isn't it? Really, it's not. It's almost not the same sport. Like, you know, it's just so it's not really about formations, because you know you can be successful with any formation, really.
Yeah.
If it's one that suits the players that you've got, and if they're well drilled, and your transition, it's a lot is in the transition. You know, it's about, okay, how do we get the ball from back to front? How do we create opportunities? And then we have to make sure when we get them, we've got the players who can take them. Players like Ollie Watkins, you know, who's a phenomenal player. But before we go, Nick, we do have to talk about Sunday. But we all know essentially what the formation is going to be. We know what the personnel will be. Apart from left back, there's a little bit of a decision there to be made.
It's going to be Cresswell.
It's likely going to be Cresswell. And given how poor the players that are going to take the pitch on Sunday were last Sunday, do you think it's a blip when we get back on track against an Everton team that are not particularly good, although have improved a bit but are not great? Or are you a bit more worried about what might happen Sunday?
Look, I think if he does the right thing, it's all dependent on David Moyes. If he does the right thing and he sets his team up, he has a couple of good training sessions, sits them down, says, right, fuck what Everton do, we're going to take them apart. You know, really fills them with confidence. I think we could go out there. I think we could wipe the floor with them. If he's cautious, and we play the normal way, I fear for us, especially with our tactic, which is at the moment. Because what Everton are going to do, they're going to play a low block, Tommy. They're the inferior team. They're going to play a low block. They've got defenders to play a fucking low block. They've got the likes of Tarkowski. They've got players like that. They will throw their bodies on the line. They're great at it, you know. Tarkowski doesn't do a Mavropanos and get smaller when you're shooting. He gets fucking 3 times as big. You know, they've got players to do that. Like you said, Yerry Mina. They've got absolutely beastly midfielders as well that sit in front of that defence. You know, Doucouré's on fire at the moment. He's exactly the type of player that...
Well, Nana's starting to play really well as well.
I mean, they've got Doucouré and Fofana. We're going to get fucked in midfield. Let's just face it. We are. Those two are athletic as anything. So
Nana as well. He's playing
that's what I mean.
better now as well,
Yeah, so they got 2 players like that. You know, Calvert-Lewin does like...
No, you said Fofana. I'm saying Onana.
Oh, sorry, I meant Onana. Onana. So they've got Onana, they've got Doucouré. I'm just not. They haven't got loads of.
Is back as well.
Yeah, but they haven't got loads of creativity. But I think they're going to basically say, "You come at us, break it." They're going to do a David Moyes. They're going to say, "Come on, show us what you've got." And I think we're going to get frustrated. I think the fans could possibly get frustrated because they'll block us, and I think that they will possibly hurt us on a counter attack because we're going to be encouraged to push on. Now, Moyes can't get a draw in this. He can't. He's going to have to. He's going to have to go for it a little bit. And I do worry because I think they're a big, powerful team. They went down to 10 men and Liverpool struggled to actually get that win. You know, they did for large parts of that game. They went down to 10 men, Everton, and they were doing a fantastic, a heroic job defending against them. You know, it was an onslaught from Liverpool. I worry against teams like that are incredibly good at defending because I don't think we're incredibly good crafting chances, Tommy.
And I think as well, Antonio's performances against Newcastle and Villa are really worrying. He does not look like he's at it at the moment at all. He
Well,
looks like his form has really, really dropped off.
Paqueta.
So Antonio.
Oh, Antonio Paqueta as well. He looks like he's got something on his mind. I mean, we've seen what's just happened with Tonali. We don't know what's going to happen with Paqueta. We know they've taken his phone. He's had to give his phone into him. So that's obviously progressing, whatever that investigation is. So we don't know where his head is. I don't think he's not right at the moment. We've seen it the last few games. He hasn't been himself. He's cutting a very angry character. He's like a red card fucking walking, isn't he? So yeah, I'm not
Speaking
sure.
of which, actually, we've got both. We've got 3 players, I think, on 4-year
Alvarez,
cards. So Paqueta,
Paqueta.
Alvarez, and someone else. I can't remember who the third is, but there's
Not
a
sure.
third player as well. So we have to be careful of that one as well. If Alvarez and Paqueta pick up yellow cards, they're out of the next game, and that's going to be a massive blow.
Hopefully, Souček. It's not Souček, is it?
I honestly can't recall.
But yeah, look, I think if he goes for the same team, if we see the same starting lineup,
Might be Aguerd.
yeah. But if we see the same starting lineup that we've seen in the last 5 games, not Olympiacos, the one before that, the standard David Moyes lineup with Cresswell for Emerson, I think we're going to get beat.
Yeah,
I think we'll get beat. If he changes it up, and he refreshes it, we know we've got the ability in that team. So it's all down to Moyes. I think it's they're not a shit. This ain't Sheffield United. They're not shit. They're not. I think they're far better than the likes of Sheffield United. And,
they'll be dogged. They'll be really dogged.
They're going to be. Yeah, they're going to be. And Moyes has to win this game.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, a draw is not going to be.
Well, especially because he sacrificed the fucking game on Thursday night for this one.
Yeah.
So he made massive changes for this game. He's got to win this game now.
Yeah. Would you be tempted to bring in Mavropanos for Aguerd? I mean, Aguerd's got a mistake in him, and you'd imagine that Calvert-Lewin will pull onto Aguerd.
Not after what I saw from Mavropanos. I think Mavropanos needs to come in when things are a little bit better or when we're desperate. I think he's going to be a good player for us, but he didn't have a good game the other day, Tommy. I didn't see enough from Mavropanos to say that he would be better than Aguerd, if that makes sense. Now.
Yeah.
So I would stick, I think, Zuma and Aguerd, as shaky as they've been, at least they're a partnership. They kind of know each other. I don't know whether I would. I don't know whether I would change that. I mean, we know what the changes that we would make. I mean, what would you if you're gonna make 2 changes in his standard team? Who would they be? Would you pull Souček out?
Oh yeah, immediately. That's without question.
And would you pull Antonio out, or would you play him? I'd play him personally.
Well, you see, I'm not going to be playing the same style of play as David Moyes.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. My worry with Antonio is he the last 2 games has been really, really bad.
Yeah.
The thing is with me, I don't think Antonio's 100%.
No, mate. In the last 2 games where he's been really bad, the Newcastle one you went to, he'd been ill all week. He hadn't trained all week. Yeah. He played him. This game here, he hadn't even travelled to Jamaica. I didn't even know that. So he hadn't travelled to Jamaica because he was carrying an injury. He weren't scheduled to be playing against Aston Villa, but Moyes ordered a last minute, I think it was 90 minutes before the game, last minute fitness test. It was enough for Moyes to say, yeah, go on, you're all right. So carrying an injury, he's just passed the fitness test. He's made him play 89 minutes. And he was shit. Now, Antonio, his game is all about his physical attributes. So if he's not right, he's going to look shit, isn't he, Tommy?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I think the changes, I'd stick with the flat back 4.
Yeah.
I'd throw a little spanner in the works, I think, for Everton that they're not expecting.
Go on.
I don't know how many will agree with this, but I would put Cornet at left back. He's played there before. He's not a stranger to the left back position.
I would.
And against Everton's right hand side is not their strong point.
Yeah.
They don't particularly hurt teams down that right hand side. So I think
he could do that Emerson role.
Yeah, I think Cornet can play the Emerson role.
Yeah.
He's got bags of pace. He can get forward, the way Emerson does. I think he'd be absolutely fine against Everton. There's other teams I would not want to play him against,
Yeah.
who are very strong down the right hand side. But I think against Everton you can. They're not strong down their right hand side. Everton. That's one of their weaknesses. Actually, is their right hand side.
Yeah.
So I would play Cornet at left back. He's played left back before. He can play that position, no problem. And he gives us that attacking option as well and that pace. I don't want to see Cresswell in there, to be completely honest. I don't think Cresswell or Johnson are great options for this game, especially as rusty as they're going to be.
Yeah. Happy Hammerette says she feels sorry for the linesman if Cornet plays. Well, look, listen, if he's playing left back, he's going to be all right.
If he's playing left back,
he
he'll
can't
be
get caught
offside.
offside. He can't get caught
Yeah.
offside, can he, from left back?
He'll
That'd be
be
some
all right.
achievement. That'd be some achievement, wouldn't it? Getting
Yeah,
caught.
yeah, it would be absolutely. Yeah. Other than that, I assume. I mean, there's rumours as well. We're not certain that Safel is going to be available for this one. That he might have a little niggle. So
There's no miss for me. I'm
no,
afraid.
no. Assuming,
I think he is fucking dreadful defensively. I know he's been good going forward, and that's purely due to the way that we play. I watched a Jack Elderton thing with Charlie Walsh, and he kind of explained the breakdown of how West Ham tactically play, and it explained how Bowen has been getting chances and how Soufal has been finding himself in fuckloads of space to put balls in and stuff like that unchallenged. He's hardly ever got a fullback on him. And what he's been doing is he's been using an overload on the left-hand side. So Lucas Paqueta, he's using him as an Antonio from deep. So basically, Lucas Paqueta on the left-hand side, he can basically attract lots of players, 2 or 3 players on him. He can fight them off, and he waits for space, and that creates space. So you put Lucas Paqueta on the ball, that creates like a fucking magnet because they've got to track Emerson as well. And then all of a sudden, you've got tons of space out on the right-hand side. And that's why Soufal, more often than not, when the ball gets switched and it goes out there, he's in acres of space. Yeah. So it is tactical what he does, but it's been figured out. It's been figured out. Everyone's seen it, you know?
Yeah. So as Hammers Mikey is saying, like, we could potentially, if Safal can't play, we could end up with Cresswell at left back and Kehrer at right back, which is not a good situation.
No.
But assuming Safal is good to go, he probably will be. That would be my back four. I'd have Safal at right back.
Yeah.
And obviously Zuma and Aguirre as the centre backs. In front of them as a DM, obviously, what was his name? Alvarez.
Yeah.
And then in front of him, as the 2 central midfielders, Paqueta and Ward-Prowse. Ward-Prowse playing in his proper position as a number 8.
Yeah.
With Paqueta essentially just being given a free role.
Yeah, I'd go for that.
Just get on the ball as often as possible for Paqueta because he is the guy that makes things happen. I would drop Antonio for this one because number 1, I don't think he's right. And number 2, I think Everton's centre backs are suited to dealing with someone like Antonio.
Yeah, he's not gonna bully Tarkowski, is he?
No, he's not, and he's not going to bully. He's not going to bully Mina.
No.
You know, they've got some big lads in there, and I don't think this is a game where Antonio can outmuscle them and get the better of them. I would move Bowen up top. At least Bowen makes those really clever runs in between the full-backs and the centre back, in between the 2 centre backs. He'll try and make those line-breaking runs, and the likes of Paqueta, Ward-Prowse can try and find him with through balls. I think he might have a bit more joy in and around there and give Tarkowski and Mina more trouble than Antonio would because he's going to be buzzing about in there, and they're going to have to try and track him wherever he's making these runs.
Yeah,
I think that'll be a more difficult afternoon for those types of bigger centre backs, more physical centre backs. They'll be delighted to deal with Antonio for 90 minutes. I think they'll feel fine about that.
Yeah, I think so.
So, which means I'd have Kudus on the right doing the Bowen job on that right-hand side. I'll play Kudus over there. And the one big surprise I would throw in, because like you can't play Fornals on the left. Benny's been dreadful. I would have brought in George Earthy and given him his Premier League debut in the left field.
Dreaming there, aren't you?
Oh yeah, of course. This is just
Yeah.
me. Obviously, there's absolutely no chance. But because something's got to give on that left hand side,
Yeah.
and for me, it shouldn't be Paqueta, and it shouldn't be Fornells. It shouldn't be Benny anymore at this point. So I would bring in one of our youth team players in George Earthy on that left hand side. Last time I saw him play there, I can't remember who we were playing in Europe, but he came on off the bench and played on that left hand side, and he fucking looked so lively. He was really causing them trouble when he was getting on the ball. He's so skillful. He's got great feet. He's a player, that really excites me. So I bring him in and give him his debut and say, "Go on, son. Look, I don't expect miracles,
Yeah.
but you've got really good players around you who are experienced." And obviously, I'd be telling them players, "Look, he's a youngster making his debut. Just keep talking to him, keep encouraging him, keep advising him, and help him get through the game." And I'd love to give someone like Earthy a debut, and I think this is a game where you can do that. Like I said, Everton are not very strong down that side.
No.
They're not great down that side, and I think Earthy could come in with all those really good players and experienced, talented players around him. That I think he'd be absolutely fine, and I think he could do quite well. And because he's got all these other players around him who are in their proper positions, who are very
Yeah.
good players, he wouldn't have to have a worldie, right? Like to
No.
do well in the game. He just has to not suck, and I don't think he would. I think he's a really talented youngster, and that's the one position where I would say, look, George, this left midfield's up for grabs, and someone's got to take it.
Yeah.
And why not you? You've got the talent, so just believe in yourself. Go out there and just give it your best. And it's like, I don't expect you to be brilliant because it's your debut, So just put him out there, but not under any pressure, but feeling like it's an opportunity for him.
Yeah.
And let's see what this kid can do, because I'm sick of that left hand side. It needs sorting one way or another. Like in January, at the earliest, we've got to sort this.
Do you know what typified Moyes' approach with youngsters? And I'll never forget it. And I kind of thought he was a bit of a scumbag for it as well. That was when we got the kid. Who was the Odubeko from Man United?
Odubeko, yeah.
And he brought him on against Man United, and he double fucking subbed him against them. And that was the last we saw of him. And I've heard a story on a podcast. Somebody who knows Odubeko apparently absolutely crushed him, completely crushed him, absolutely fucking embarrassed him. And that's what I mean. That's the effect that someone like David Moyes can have on a kid's career.
That was unforgivable, really, wasn't it?
It was disgusting what he did there against his parent club that he came from as well. He's literally brought him on. How long did he last for? It weren't long, and he just double subbed him.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
You absolute prick.
Yeah, and this is the same manager who played Souček all last season while he was absolute fucking dog shit.
I know.
And then he does that to a kid
who's,
that was disgusting.
I know.
So, so you're a bit pessimistic about Sundays. So I don't know. Sorry if you said already.
I didn't.
What do you think the score's going to be?
I'm going to make a prediction. I think he's going to stick with the same team, and I think he's going to switch Cresswell out. I think he's going to.
It'll be Cresswell, and that's it.
And I'm going to say it's going to take some bollocks for him to do that, because if it goes wrong, then he's going to get crucified. But I think he will stick with the same team. Because if he changes it all, he's gonna have to basically admit that he's been wrong. What he's been doing, and I think he's been sticking with this for 5 games now. He's obviously been working on this. This is his plan. We know he has like one plan, David Moyes. So it'll be Cresswell in for Emerson, and I think we'll lose.
Really?
I think we'll lose. Yeah. I'll go 2-1. 2-1 Everton.
Well, that would really throw the cat among the pigeons. I mean, like if we lose that one, that's really going to be a damaging defeat.
Bear in mind, I'm no good at predictions. I called a draw against fucking Aston Villa. So
I did as well, because, and I'll tell you why. Because we've tended actually to do quite well at Villa Park in recent years. So I think I allowed that to maybe colour my judgment a little bit. But then, I kind of didn't factor in that this is an Unai Emery-led Aston Villa, and they're a different animal now. So we got our arses handed to us in an embarrassing fashion. Um, and given that it was an embarrassing defeat and that he got it completely wrong in Athens, completely
Yeah.
wrong, that there is pressure on this game for us to bounce back. And this will be a tough game. Everton will not make it easy for us to score.
No.
And we do concede. So I don't think it'll be a 0-0. I think this potentially will be just a very dour game of football. But
I think Everton need the win, and I think Everton will smell blood. I think
yeah,
they've been good away from home. They went to Brentford and they got a result. I think they've been better away from home than they have been at home. They have been better on the road. I think that they'll smell blood with us at the moment. They'll know at the London Stadium that fans are starting to get rattled. Dodsey was in. Everyone knows the hardcore fans that kind of the away fans. They're the last ones to turn. They are. They're kind of the diehard supporters. And when they start to turn, then there's something not right. And Dodsey said that was the first time yesterday that he was having conversations with people that were there that were literally going, "This is fucking wrong. Like this is bad." And apparently it was quite widespread. He said if we get a few more, like that, he said it's going to flip. And Dodsey ain't like that. Dodsey kind of he's very positive and goes everywhere with them. But he said that was the most negative he's kind of felt it in the fan base for a long
because
time.
you have to say, I mean, ultimately, from a managerial perspective, yesterday, I mean that there was nothing short of.
You'd have felt insulted if you'd have spent all that money going over there and you were sitting there watching that. You'd have been sitting there thinking, "You absolute prick."
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around it, really. I mean, that was genuine incompetence.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other word to describe it. The incompetence to put that team out away to Olympiacos and think that they're going to do something.
Yeah.
Just crazy, and that especially coming hot on the heels of being completely embarrassed at Villa Park, where Moyes was
We're definitely
embarrassed.
going to lose. Fucking James from E20's calling a win. You should be calling a loss, James, with your predictions. You said we was going to batter Villa.
Yeah,
you should be.
well,
Take one for the team. So we're going to get beat.
Yeah, well, yeah, we know who we're going to play. We know the 11. Cresswell, as I say, Cresswell will be the only change for the suspended Emerson. My worry is that Antonio's going to be up top again, and I think he's going to be completely contained. I don't think he's going to get any change out of Tarkowski and Mina. So we will concede because we always concede. But I think we'll score as well. Everton are not Villa by any stretch, and we are at home. I think it's going to be very, very close. If there's a winner in this, I think it'll be by the odd goal.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everton are not that great, and we're at home, and I think we need a bounce back. And I'm really hopeful that we can get one in this game, even though it won't be pretty. My hope is that we'll be able to do just enough in this one.
I think Everton will know that if they'll be. I think they'll come out fast. I think Everton will come out fast because I think they'll know if they get a goal or if they can get an early goal, the fans will turn.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to be a little bit more positive than you as far as the result. Maybe not I don't think the performance will be anything special. I think it'll be a very tight game. It won't be much of a spectacle. I mean, West Ham Everton just sounds awful at the moment of a game.
That's not a game for TV, is it?
No, it's not one for the neutrals, is it?
No.
I'm gonna be positive and say we'll squeeze out a 2-1 win. Squeeze out a 2-1 win. Will I be surprised if it's 1-1? Not in the least. If we get over 1-0, will it shock me? Not in the least. But I think with the players we've got, we might just do enough.
Wouldn't it just be nice if we just fucking came out the blocks and just went at them? and just literally went at them. Do you know what I mean? Just played brave, played just because I was listening to an analysis of it was Emery's style, and they was talking about Postecoglou as well, and they were saying that these managers are crazy because they never change their philosophy. Like they're kind of they play high, they play high risk football, high risk, high reward. That's literally how they play. It's fucking exciting though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of it's going for it, and they never ever change. If they go a goal down, they just carry on going. They keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And yeah, look, I know you've got the example that everyone likes to give, Leeds. Well, Leeds were a fucking championship team like Burnley trying to do it. They didn't have the players to perform that. We fucking have. You're talking about teams that are in the top half. We should be at the level of team that should be able to play football like that, with the money that we're spending.
Yeah. No.
Balls out football. That's what I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's not true, Hammers Mikey. It's on the horror channel.
Yeah.
It's over 18s only.
It's going to be bad, isn't it?
Yeah. This could be really hard watch.
Is it on telly?
Oh,
are they televising it?
I don't think so. Not unless they're crazy.
They'd be fucking mad if they did.
Not unless every other game's cancelled, I think. Yeah.
I'll tell you. Hang on.
I think if every other game was cancelled, they probably wouldn't even bother showing it, would they?
It is. Oh my God! It's Sky Sports main event.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
Super Sunday.
Sky Sports main event. Yeah. Jesus Christ. They must be hard up.
Wow, can't believe that's on live.
There can't be any other games on.
Yeah.
It can't be.
Somebody at Sky Sports is getting sacked.
Yeah.
They turn around and go, who the fuck's picked that one?
So who else is there? So on Sunday, you've got West Ham Everton at 1 o'clock. You've got Aston Villa Luton at 2 o'clock. Brighton and Fulham at 2 o'clock. Both of those games are better. I mean, Villa are going to batter Luton. That'd be more of a spectacle. And Brighton and Fulham would be a good match, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Brighton Fulham would probably be quite entertaining. Yeah, there'd be some goals in that.
Oh, Man U and Man City at 3:30. That'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely will. Yeah. That's at Old Trafford, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to see past City there, isn't it? Although it's a derby, so you never know. You
never know. Anyway, Tommy, do you mind if we wrap this up?
No, I was just going to wrap up. That's why we were kind of getting to the Everton game to get that done and dusted in the bag.
2-1 defeat for me, 2-1 win for you.
Yes. So it'll probably be 0-0. But yeah. But listen, appreciate you jumping on, Nick. As always,
no worries, mate. That's fine.
Always nice to have someone else on to chat with, rather than trying to wing it on my own for so long. We've done all right tonight. We did 3 hours last week. I usually in my head I'm thinking we go for an hour, maybe 90 minutes.
Yeah,
if it's off a bit, but we did 3 hours last week and we were at 2:20 this week. So we're spoiling people, them.
The worst thing you can ever do is have Nigel on a fucking stream because they run for 3-4 hours. They do. He never lets them end.
I'll try and get him on next week then. As always, look, thanks to everybody in the chat, the live chat. Appreciate you being here. Always good I do read your messages as they're coming through, see what you guys are saying. It's always interesting to look at. As always, if you're watching this back later on, appreciate you taking a look. And as always, if you can hit the like button, I'd really appreciate that as well. It really helps to push the show onto people's timelines, on people's feeds, so more people will see it. And fingers crossed that we can get back on track a little bit on Sunday. But we shall see. But